Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's enough of that. More than enough. Fuck the Tories. Hi, Abdi.
Yeah, we are here. Hello, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. We have a special guest today. She won't be staying for the whole episode, don't worry. Though I'm sure it won't be long until y'all are asking for that.
Don't worry. What a fucking sentence, you.
How about fuck you?
I know.
Exactly.
I'll just sit here quietly then. That's embarrassing. We've brought Melissa on because so Jordan Dane sent us.
Just pap him, eh? Get him out of here. He didn't send his scissors.
No, he didn't. Don't promise his.
It's a very fucking obvious threat.
Yeah.
Have a drink and scissors.
So we got old-fashioned cocktails in a bag sent to us, which we very much appreciate. And we brought Melissa in because let me read the note. Lovely little note that we got sent with this. Thank you, Jordan. It says to the Guitar Souls, options were 1, 2, or 5. So I assumed it will be 2 to Levi, 2 to Mike, and 1 to Melissa. Great work on the show, lads. Congrats again on passing 100. Here's to many more. Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate it.
Too kind.
Yeah, we're going to try this. We are going to try old fashions in a bag. Now, I was initially terrified by this as a concept because we don't know what's in this. This could be any old crap. They claim that it's Buffalo Trace. They claim that. I'm sure it probably is.
It definitely is. I can't imagine they would claim that and then not be like, nothing can go wrong here.
It says Buffalo Trace, Gama Arabic, bitters, and saline.
Right.
I wouldn't traditionally put saline in an old-fashioned cocktail.
Well, it's probably just to stop it going all sticky in the bag and just becoming sugar.
Sure. So
Also, when you put your ice cubes into your drink, it's probably just putting water in it anyway, and saline is just...
it says to decant it into a bottle. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to cut the bag open and try and pour it into a...
Q Levi's fucking place exploding. This is going to be like, oh, we're all online, chop.
Yeah, as pointed out, they have milk in bags in Canada, so...
Yes, I always found bagged milk really weird. Like,
It's
really
concerning.
weird. Aye, like, there's something about it. I'm so used to a solid container of milk that having a bag of it just feels alien.
Wrong. One time at a festival, a guy came up to me and he had a bag of wine on him, and he gave me some wine out of his bag of wine, and then he disappeared into the crowd again.
Nice.
It was a nice moment.
That sounds lovely.
Great way to get alcohol into a festival.
Absolutely. We well, actually, like most of the UK festivals, I wasn't bothered about because fuck it doesn't matter. But Europe's always been really good for just letting you bring your drink in. Like we went to Hellfest one year in France, and the deal was as long as you have like bought a jug of drink, it's like €12 for the drink, 13 all in if you want to buy the decanter, and then you just take that in and out, and it doesn't matter what you put in it
Sure.
because they've got the open lid and they're like, well, we know that's not whatever, just let you in and out. And the pints were fresh, cold, actually tapped, and it was like Kronenberg or something. It was
Fabulous.
probably the best festival experience you can think of in that regard. On the other hand, I worked at a festival on the first night, and the staff, I repeat, the staff campsite, someone jammed the porta toilets, the only toilets for staff, with empty bottles. You actually can't take Glaswegians anywhere.
No, you can't. No, you
The
can't.
fucking staff, the security staff as well.
Yes, when me and the Crows turned up to Kilburn Garden Party, every single member of staff was either high or drunk, and it was like, where's the band's car park where we can go and park up and we can get all our gear out and everything, and there's just some guy like, I mean, if you go down that way, just down this country lane that seemed to go on forever, just head down that. I mean, you might get lucky. Who knows?
Oh.
So I've been super unprepared with this because the thing it doesn't send you in the bag is orange zest.
Shit.
And you really want to, when I say unprepared, I did go to the shops today and buy oranges specifically for this, but then I forgot to actually bring them out here.
So you fucked it then?
I fucked it, yeah.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. I'm only kidding. That looks nice.
I have to say, hold that up.
Thank you.
So this is five portions, 5 cocktails. There's
That's a lot there.
between the 3 of us, there's a reasonably decent amount in there.
These must be like bowling club measures.
Yeah.
Everywhere else in Scotland, it's 25 mils, and you go to a bowling club, which is like an old social club or whatever for people in the grass bowls, 35 mil, which is rare in Scotland these days. But sometimes they just free pour, and that's the best.
It looks horrible. Can you see all the swirling around happening
That's
in
just
the
the
glass?
sugar in it. It's the sugar syrup.
You think?
It absolutely
really
is
nice.
right here. You know what? Slanjava.
Smells okay. How is it?
Cheers.
Cracking. Thank you. And it definitely is Buffalo Trace. It tastes great. Slanjava. Thanks very much, Jordan. Most kind of you. It's really good.
You know, that's not bad.
That's pretty good.
It's whiskey that comes in the meal. It's excellent. You fucking mental?
Yeah.
It's all right. So, all the tits are all right. Not all tits are good tits. And that's just fact. Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, these.
Still valid at least. I'll give you valid.
Yeah, no. Honestly, thank you very much for that, Jordan. That's it's actually a lot better than I imagined it would be. You know.
But it's delicious. Like, a sip in and the madness has already started.
Yeah.
I'm down.
So yeah. The thing I will say is and I don't recommend you do this, if you ever want to supply alcohol to a child, you can post them these. Because there was absolutely no ID check whatsoever. It literally just came through my door.
I'm going to send one to Finlay. And then I'm going to confiscate it and say, Nancy, he must have been on your eBay or something. He's went and bought whiskey. I'll just need to drink it. Teach him a lesson.
Yeah, so I poured it everywhere as well. But yeah, again, thank you very much. I'm gonna taste that. And
Oh man, it feels dead nice in the throat, warm in the cockles. Not to start on a low note, but for those of you that reached out and asked about my wee granny, thanks very much. I appreciate the considerations. But sadly, on Saturday morning she passed away. So just going to raise a wee toast to wee Mags.
to wee Mags.
Nice.
Now, I'm not even really religious, but I've got this wee crucifix and it's because my granny gave me it. And it was a real bone of contention that I might give this to Finlay. Not from my gran, from the other side of the family.
Oh.
We'll leave it at that.
Oh, families, they're the best.
Absolutely. But yeah, thanks very much for these very kind. Chris, are you at it again already?
Chris locks on and making us millionaires again. So thank you very much for that, Chris. On that note, before we do the traditional sponsors type things, we want to say thank you to our supporters over on Buy Me a Coffee. I meant to put a link in the description. I probably did. No, I did do that. There is a link in the description. So there's a link in the description to our Buy Me a Coffee. If you would like to go over to Buy Me a Coffee, I'm a little bit drunk now apparently. Buy Me a Coffee, and you would like to buy us a coffee, that is our NAM fund.
Yes.
We are putting all of that money aside, and yeah, we will hopefully be going to NAM at some point, which will be cool.
I mean, if we can raise enough money, maybe we can pay Lance Benedict to come and we can wrestle him live.
I mean, I've got his home address
No,
from all the court documents, so
that'll be fake. You know him.
it's 100% not. It's been his address for the last 15
It's
years.
registered address.
Yeah, so we could just knock on his door and just wrestle him.
Just wrestle. Right, cool. Trips assemble. We're doing it.
Yeah, so anybody want to join us over on buymeacoffee.com, you can give us a one-off donation or you can join up as a monthly member. And we will be filming a bonus episode at some point this week and sending that out to everybody that supports us over on Buy Me a Coffee. So that is the best way to support the show.
If any of you want to watch Levi hate me in at least two of his senses, then you need to watch it because he's going to have to listen to Party Cannon and try and play it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, good point. Good point. This is going to be
Is what I'm saying.
difficult.
No, I think you'll get the licks down, man. They're not crazy.
I really don't.
You've been practicing?
No, I barely pick up my guitar. I do most of my transcribing without a guitar, so or pretty much all my transcribing without a guitar now. So I only pick up a guitar when I'm sitting down to teach.
Ah, fair enough. Well,
Um,
the joke's on you because I've no practiced either. So you're going to be taught sloppy riffs.
Consummate professional.
I know.
As always. As always. Standards here. No, I'll definitely get practiced a bit more.
Yeah.
The album gets sent away to get mixed and mastered just during the week. They were like, oh, I'm going to send you a bounce. It's just got some levels for you to hear. And it didn't have any bass in it. I don't know if they just didn't put the bass in that bounce. Like, even the bass drums don't have any thump to them. And I was
Sure.
like, so I'm writing here. I was like, no, it's just a really basic bounce so that we know that the samples all line up
Right,
and everything's
right.
on track. It's not any mix. I was like,
Sure.
fuck. Because it went for sounding really good in the studio on these, and they weren't like crazy price. They were focal monitors. They sounded really good. To like hearing it but with my headphones on and being like, oh my God, is this what we've recorded? And we thought it sounded great. Like, have we been biased? You know that feeling of being like,
Absolutely, I do.
I thought these monitors were meant to be transparent, not making it sound good when it isn't. And then, well, it wasn't. So we're all right. We're okay.
Andre has asked, looking forward to the bonus episode, what Party Cannon song will it be?
I haven't even decided yet. Andre, do you want to give me some suggestions about how we can torture this big handsome bastard? Because I genuinely haven't really been thinking about it. Although I was thinking of probably trying to structure it like how Dean Lamb and Claire Lamb do the 4 levels of death metal. You seen those videos? Essentially, it's the two of them sitting down and learning riffs for all the tech bands. Dean Lamb's the guitarist for Archspire, and Claire's his, I think, wife. Anyway, they've got this really good series. It's the two of them basically just tackling these death metal riffs and learning the tabs, and they get sent in by other bands. There's a few really good ones. Actually, the Zenith Passage one is really good because it made me go and listen to it. And if anybody out there is a fan of the Faceless, especially the Planetary Duality era, just that one album, then the Zenith Passage is basically just, how can we do this bit better? How can we do this bit more? So,
I mean, I tuned out of that for 2 reasons. As soon as you said death metal, I was like, yeah, this is me out. Also, we got a great comment there from Johnny Mittens. Would you like to read that out?
By the way, geeks, I ducked out before the end last week. Had a baby girl at 2:07 a.m. on Tuesday morning. Yes, Johnny! Congrats, mate. You got a name?
To Johnny's baby, to Mini Mittens.
Mini Mittens.
I love it.
Okay, while he thinks about what that potential name will be, I want to say a big thank you to our wonderful supporters, our friends and family over at Ormsby Guitars. You can see this. I'm trying not to point at Melissa here. There we go. But you can see this stunning thing here. This beautiful.
I was going to pull you out of it.
This beautiful Ormsby Goliath. We've got some Ormsby stuff to actually talk about on the show today.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that in a second because there is a new model out that you can pre-order. Very cool. Yeah, we love the guys over at Ormsby. Check them out on Instagram. Follow them. Let them know that we sent you and all of that good stuff. They are absolutely awesome. Enjoy their Instagram posts. You'll have a good time. And I also want to say a big thank you to our friends over at Dead World Audio. That's never going to focus because it's not on autofocus anymore. But
Dan and Kate, we love you.
You get the idea. Duality DX. Pick up a Duality DX from Dead World Audio because, beautiful, good people.
Big pimping.
Yeah, still don't have a whiskey sponsor. Working on it.
I think that's just asking for trouble, if I'm totally honest.
Oh, sure.
But it's all right because it's Scotland.
Yeah. Also, come on, be our logo, right?
Uh-huh.
Are the Guitar Saints. How awesome do you think it would be if we could have such a great working relationship with a whiskey distillery that I could make those outfits for us? We could go down to the distillery,
Get those photos.
bless a barrel.
Neither is a religious or ordained, so
I know.
we can't bless a barrel.
Which makes it even more offensive. So
I mean, we
we'll
could
bless a barrel, and
No.
then we can have a Guitar Souls cask.
we can put
Megalomaniacs.
good energy out to the universe towards the cask and hope that the universe hears it and sends that energy back. That's what we could do.
Ted C asks, do I know a good source to buy a transcription of Danny Gatton's Harlem Nocturne? I personally don't even have one, Ted. Of course, I can do one because I'm a transcriber. There was one from Guitar Techniques years and years and years ago, like 98 or something like that. But I couldn't comment on the accuracy of it. So, yeah. Initial name of choice was Maverick Megatron. Oh, okay.
Maverick Megatron. No, I'm ready to slag you and I can't do it. Maverick Megatron is a great name.
Yeah, it's been
Though
rejected out of hand.
Vasquez Ripley and Sarah Connor are also belters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely banging. Absolutely banging.
This is good.
I'm really scared about this, man. I think there's going to be at some point when it rebrand as like the Cirrhosis Boys or something. I can feel it coming.
It's really starting to sound like you're against the idea of having a whiskey sponsorship.
Nah, I'm not. I'm against the idea of drinking a lot.
Yeah. I keep like jokingly bringing it up, but I'm really serious. Like this is being worked on as we speak.
I am down. Don't get me wrong. I think I'm just conscious of not diving into that rabbit hole.
Sure. I mean, I think it's perfectly acceptable to have a single cocktail on a podcast. We obviously push the mantra of drink responsibly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Drink as responsibly as you want to, because it's entirely up to you what you do.
Yeah, like I can get on board. I can totally get on board with that.
Totally. No, you know what it is, right? I was always raised that you don't drink on a school night and I still haven't really grown out of that. Of there is no such thing as a school night. So you just do what you want to do, and you have to do your obligations when you've got them.
Yeah.
My brain still thinks in that like Monday to Friday, everybody's good, and then Saturday, Sunday, you let your hair down, and then you go back to work on Monday.
Fuck that.
I know.
There was definitely no other mantra in my house.
Yeah, drink on school night. No, drink responsibly. I think that's the important thing to point out. Don't drink at all. We drink coffees. Buy us coffees at buymeacoffee.com.
It's a funny coffee you've got in your hand there, Levi.
It is delicious coffee.
An Irish coffee.
I don't even drink coffee. What am I talking
I
about?
drink a lot of coffee.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to? This is a bit of a personal one this is aimed at me. Do you want to give us this fan mail, Mike?
Let's do it. This comes from Steve. Thanks for the email, Steve. Hey guys, I'll start again. Hey guys, just recently stumbled across your podcasts and have become a massive fan of them. Now going through the full back catalogue. I feel like I found a kindred spirit with Levi as I've recently gone through a divorce and have issues with my testosterone levels also. I was wondering if Levi could share a little more on how he's managed with the testosterone issues and impacts this has had in his daily life. For example, I found increased general tiredness, lack of sex drive, frustration, etc. And also how he remained positive in coping mechanisms of going through a divorce while still living together and why the breakup. Thanks so much and fuck the Tories. Cheers, Steve. Love you, man.
I know you're just so happy to get to that final bit. You read it with such vigour.
Yeah, I love that it's now became a slogan for us. Only just because I'm like, that's going to upset so many people. And I'm not really that bothered, but I'm bothered about injustice. I'm not bothered about who you vote for. You know what I mean?
Sure.
If you've got the right reasons, do your thing.
I'm disappointed we don't religiously stick to bifuckers, but such is life. I leave that one to you. If you want to go with stay hydrated. Yeah. Yeah. So let me just blast through those questions. So a little bit more on how I've managed with the testosterone issues and impacts that it's had on my daily life. So I can totally get on board with the general tiredness thing. Lack of sex drive certainly was an issue for me for a prolonged period of time, but that went away. Frustration has never really been that much of an issue. Ultimately, the reason I had to go to the doctors and check is because I had a lump in my pec or my boobie. If you like, and they did a biopsy on that, and it came back as not cancerous. It was just gynecomastia. And
so relieved, man, after I felt that in the shower.
And then we passed away, Mike.
Sorry, I had to.
Yeah. So they did the checks, and they said we should check why this has happened. And they found the testosterone thing. Did some checks for like pituitary gland and things. I've had lots of brain scans and things. Abnormality on my pituitary gland, but it's nothing that they're really concerned about. They were going to give me supplements, but I didn't want to take the supplements. I wanted to try and fix it in more natural ways, natural remedies, natural exercise, more positive thinking, taking care of my mental health. And generally speaking, it's not fully rectified itself, but it's on the right path. So yeah, unfortunately, I can't really help with dealing with the ideas of frustration. I do still generally have tiredness. I'm tired a lot, am I not?
Mm-hmm.
But such is life. I deal with that. It's one of those weird things, obviously, because we're going through weird pandemic COVID times. I can't go to the hospital. I'm supposed to have a checkup every 6 months, and I've not been able to do that in the best part of 18 months now.
Mm-hmm.
So
we were talking about this just recently, funnily enough.
Yeah.
I know you didn't direct this question to me, Steve, but when you're talking about frustration, if you're talking about just getting frustrated with situations and just finding yourself, I don't know, irritable, it might be worth looking up some de-escalation techniques and just some kind of mindfulness. Generally speaking, that stuff's pretty good for me when I start to get to the point of I'm going to explode, which I've had a few days like that recently. It's been pretty intense.
Yeah,
but you get through it every day, and that's just all you can do.
You've had some emotionally trying situations.
Yes, a couple. But you know what? We keep on trucking.
Yeah.
Keep on trucking.
That's the important thing. And on the second part of things, how I remain positive. Coping mechanisms going through divorce. I have a good network of friends, but I think most importantly, and I said this on the podcast when I announced that I was breaking up with Hayley, it was totally amicable. We're still good friends. I still talk to her pretty regularly. I helped her move. Totally good friends. We just had grown apart and just got, there's 4 years of difference between us, I think, or something like that. So I'm a fair bit older. She was a lot younger when I met her. obviously, and she's grown into a different person. Like there wasn't a compatibility thing there anymore. And although we're totally still good friends, you can't go on living your life with somebody where you just feel like you're living with a friend. And because of that, it's hard for me to really talk about coping mechanisms because it wasn't that bad. Compared to, I know that a lot of people listening to this podcast will have had breakups of their own and divorces of their own that will have been nightmarish. But in the grand scheme of things, mine was really easy. Really easy.
I think the first couple of days you were as if you'd been punched in the chest. You were just like sunken. But once you had a conversation, a couple of days later, and a bit of time to reflect, and that you seem to be.
Yeah. And to be fair, 8 days after she left me, I found Melissa. So that certainly didn't hurt.
That was an interesting Tinder date.
That's quite the context to put it in, Levi. Jesus Christ.
I just remember being horrified. But you know, the thing is, and Levi's right, Hayley was over the house, 2 nights ago?
Yeah.
And picking up stuff and saying hello to the dog. So that is kind of nice. I've never experienced that actually before, where it has been a completely amicable thing.
Aye.
And it's lovely to watch, because so many of these breakups and things like that when it comes to marriage are really bitter. But, you guys have done it really, really well.
Yep. So
it's mental. It's really mental.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's definitely been stressful. Don't get me wrong.
Course.
But the only thing that's been, and I can't even tell you what my coping mechanisms have been, because I haven't really had any.
I wonder what my coping mechanisms are. I've been drinking a lot recently. I can't wait to get whiskey in the meal.
That's my influence.
Yeah, no, but she's totally right. Like,
anyway, I know.
Never once did I really turn to. I never had a single drink. Still never.
You don't drink to cope. You don't get drunk regularly.
No.
Very rarely do you get drunk, and when you get drunk, you go fucking nuclear.
Yeah.
There's me trying to stop you spewing in yourself out in back gardens and stuff. No, I'm all right. No, I'm fine. I feel better now. 700 litres in Malibu later.
Malibu.
Yeah, Malibu's all right.
Yeah. You want to get
Don't think so?
destroyed
White
super
rum?
fast? You throw down that Malibu.
No, you might destroyed really, really fast. You come to my house and we drink that fucking absinthe I've got in my cupboard.
So what was I thinking? Coping mechanisms. I threw myself into work like a lot, and that was probably very, very, very unhealthy. I was working 12 hours a day easily, 6-7 days a week, and I got a lot of work done because I had to take on as much work as possible, because the thing I talked about on the podcast was dealing with buying Hayley out of this house. I had to buy her out of this house and essentially help her buy a new house, because I couldn't lose this house. There's just no way. I built this studio, and it's I would be buried in this studio.
You can take our lives.
Yeah.
But you'll never take my studio. And he's at the back, just in his pants, with a broomstick on the roof of it.
Howling at the moon.
Aye.
Yeah. I mean, worst case scenario, if I had to sell this house, I'd try and buy the piece of land that this studio is on and just.
You think
Over a tent.
Yeah.
You think if you howled, it would be in your accent? I was just thinking, right? Like, if I was to howl, I would be Scottish, but would you be English with it?
Do you howl and sound Scottish? What's a Scottish howl sound?
Okay, the hoo! I don't know.
Achoo! No.
Yeah.
It worked!
That was really an English accent. How?
Yeah. What comments am I missing here? So,
This isn't really an episode. This is just you and I and the lovely Melissa getting pretty drunk.
yeah.
I love it. It's good.
Evidently, these are really strong.
They are quite strong.
Aye.
Yeah.
It's funny that there's only 5 of them in the bag. Yeah, baby.
I think going back to these, I think the fear you have is that if you buy something like this for someone, that you're being ripped off. The alcohol that's in it isn't of the quality that they say it is, and that it's not going to be of the concentration that they say it is. But props to them. This is not weak. This is
No, it's not.
This
It
is
tastes
a
like
strong
whiskey.
mix. Yeah.
Yep.
So and there was a lot in the bag. So props to him. Props to him. It's got a good level of sweetness to it, but still, yeah.
Next time I think about getting really, really pissed about lying by the front door, I'm going to order one, and as it comes through the letterbox, I'm just going to stab it and just lie there.
Yeah.
Finley, come and help me.
So that's
Coping mechanism.
Aye. That's went from fun to dark. Sorry.
That's all I can really say on that one, Steve. But thank you very much for the message. And if you have any further questions, or if you just want to talk, if you want to rail about testosterone and how fun that is, shoot me a message anytime. More than happy to do that.
100%.
Here's another one for you, Mike.
Yes, let's do it. This is John King, Thanks for the email, John. Hi guys, hope all is well. When you finally meet your maker and there really is a heaven, God is throwing a party for the angels and wants you to get a band together. Who do you recruit? Just before you go any further, I probably won't go to heaven. I would have Freddie Mercury on vocals, Cliff Burton on bass, John Bonham on drums, Gary Moore, Jeff Healey and Randy Rhoads on guitars, and Brent Midland on keyboards. I don't know how many times it took me to say that there. Jesus Christ. Have you ever seen the newscaster that goes, Black Hawk helicopter? That's what I felt like there. Like I was just trapped in a loop of saying the wrong thing.
The right thing. It's a Freudian slip.
Mm-hmm. We loves it. We love it.
Yeah, it's a difficult question. Difficult question.
I think so.
What type of band are we talking about here? And is it people that are currently dead? I assume you're talking about people that are currently dead, but like, you know, I would like to think that I would probably won't actually, but let's hope that I outlast Ozzy Osbourne. You would imagine I'll outlast Ozzy Osbourne. So could I include Ozzy on this list?
I think Ozzy will still be doing TV shows when we're 60.
Yeah.
Just a wee husk.
He's been a husk for 20 years.
I know, just imagine all like dishevelled and like a wee raisin. A chalk white raisin with sunglasses on.
So who would I put in these bands? Vocals, bass, drums, guitars, keyboards. Any thoughts? Vocalists? Dead vocalists.
My favourite. Jeff Buckley.
Oh, actually.
Beat it.
Another $25 from Chris Locke. Thank you very much, Chris.
You're a lunatic, sir. I'm going to drink for you. Please don't take this encouragement to make me drink more. Don't do it.
So yeah, and it would also depend what type of band you're talking about, you know?
Nah, I want to throw people together that are just going to create crazy music.
Right.
That's just thinking like, who's out there enough to just together. So, copy me? You copy me?
No. I do that.
I don't know. Sorry, I'm at it. Sorry. Forgetting we're on camera. Totally putting you in the spot there. Yes, vocals would definitely be Jeff Buckley. Bass.
Charles Mingus. Sorry.
Sorry, the
Charles
guy who played
Mingus.
piano. Sorry.
I like that shout.
I don't know who Charles Mingus is.
He's a jazz composer.
Right.
He plays bass guitar. Well,
Nice.
double bass.
Oh, fuck it. No, Jaco Pastorius. Fuckies.
I shouldn't get an opinion because mine are all going to be, ridiculous.
Good musicians.
I mean,
That's okay. I think that's okay. Like,
Of course it's ridiculous. I'm going to come from a ridiculous background as well. Listen to fucking brutal death metal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Brutal. It has to be BDM. It has to be. It's not slamming deathcore.
Yeah.
It's not brutal slamming death metal. Brutal death metal.
Really got to teach me the difference between these.
There isn't. It's just people talking shit.
Right. Okay.
It's the same as when you get into like, no, they're not progressive. They're actually neo-fusion. And you're like, fucking shut up, man. They play in odd time signatures and use weird chords. Grow up.
all right, Kendo.
How dare you? How fucking dare you?
How
How fucking dare you?
I quite like
So
the
much worse
idea-
than that.
Yeah, I quite like the idea of like, I agree with you, like throwing people together that don't really belong together, like putting someone like Prince on vocals and Eddie Van Halen on guitar.
I would put Prince on keyboards.
I would put Prince on that entire list.
Aye, Prince.
Just
Yeah.
Right, we've solved it. Prince. It's done. Thanks, John. Kidding on. I do like the sound of your band, though. I like the idea of Gary Moore and Randy Rhoads soloing off against each other. Like kind of heavy blues, but a lot of feel. Would be pretty good. And you've always got Big John kicking fuck at that big 75-inch bass drum that he does. Cliff, I think would probably bring a lot of weird distortion and wah pedals into the stuff, which again would probably fit. And we can't really beat Freddie Mercury.
Okay, so I quite like the idea of switching out my vocalist, because when I see vocalist, I think lead instrument. So I'm going to put a saxophonist on that.
They're not singing though,
Yeah, but they're going to play all the melodies.
but they're not singing.
Shh. They're taking the spotlight for me.
Oh, honey, no.
I'm putting Charlie Parker up there, right? And then I want behind him, like, an all jazz band, like a proper jazz band, but with Eddie Van Halen on guitar. That's going to be me. So we can put Mingus on bass. We can put Max Roach on drums. We can put Bud Powell on keyboards and Eddie Van Halen on guitar. Glorious. That's what I'm going with.
I so want to argue with you, but I just can't.
Can I add one addition to your band?
Sure.
Don't have to take anyone else away at all, but I put Jeff Hanneman guitar as well. Just to fuck with shit.
Just for some unadulterated craziness.
I would just love to see this functioning, incredible jazz band and then Jeff Hanneman just standing with Heineken beers, just slamming them. No giving a fuck.
What's this? So, hi guys, first time catching a live stream. Keep up the great work on the podcast. Been a long time listener. Always have your show on whilst driving and running. Always keeps me engaged. Fantastic.
Thanks very much, Carol. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're so sweet. I quite enjoyed doing the live episodes. I'm guessing for the fact that people actually come and watch us, that people enjoy that too, which is interesting.
Yeah, if you are watching the show, guys, and you enjoy the show, please do share it with your friends. And if you don't enjoy the show, I don't know why you're still watching, but then share it with your enemies.
Write some really hateful comments.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, engagement, that works.
Share it in all the groups you know and be like, check these fucking bozos.
Yeah. So it's a great question, John, but I'd be more interested. I'm not more interested in yours. You've already sent us yours, but just getting a feel for what people would suggest themselves. So good suggestion here, like Alan Holdsworth.
With a metal band backing him. That's just my sugar.
Yeah.
I'm not being daft, it is. In a good way.
I really like, so I'm not a big fan of Alan's playing, but I really like, because I'm not a fan of his music, but I really like him when he plays on other people's music.
Because he's so outside the box.
Exactly.
He's just everywhere.
So the Jens Johansson album, Heavy Machinery, is that's a really good album. Really good. It's like dirty, funky fusion with Alan Holdsworth just shredding like a motherfucker over the top of it.
That sounds wild.
I like that album.
Sounds wild. I'd be into it.
Yeah. So
what's the is it Round Metal Hat? Is the Matty Seclund and Jonas Hellborg album, or is it Sean Lane that's on that?
the Matthias Eklund one and Jonas Hellborg is Art Metal.
Art Metal, that's right. Sorry. Yep.
Yeah.
Round Metal Hat's an Ohm song.
Maybe.
Was that Where's My Hat?
Do people remember the names of Ohm songs?
Me?
I think they're just like jams. You're just sat there like.
I'm learning. Sitting here, shutting up and learning.
So thank you very much, John, for the question. We are going to blast on with some news. Let's do this, seeing as evidently Melissa's just hanging around. Who are
I can go, but
who are the TikTok band Tramp Stamps, and why does everybody already hate them? Melissa, take it away.
so many reasons. I mean, to be honest, I've seen a lot. I mean, don't judge. I am a 35-year-old woman and I have TikTok.
I fucking love this, by the way. I love that you've just been like, right, thermonuclear.
I'm going.
Please, you have
I'm
it.
going. I love TikTok. I mostly love TikTok because TikTok's algorithm is incredibly strong. So you can pretty much guarantee that if you've been on it for longer than a day, it's going to only feed you the things that you love. And to be honest, my TikTok is full of vocalists, cooking, and random stupid comedy. I did notice something about this band coming up, and I kind of patched it because I was like, oh, another thing for people to be offended or annoyed about. But my flatmate just now, I'm moving in with Levi, but my flatmate just now, Naomi, who's one of my friends, she started talking to me about it, and I was like, I don't really understand what's going on. She's like, watch some of it. And we listened to a female rapper called Ashniko. She does a lot of like Harajuku style fashion. She's really, really cool. She's basically ripping, this bands are ripping off Ashniko. I went and had a little look. The main theme of what seems to be going on is that people are really annoyed that this band were a bunch of women that were plucked from obscurity and told to say these things and given all of these inflammatory lyrics that kind of other artists have already talked about with, things about female sexuality and things about feminism, blah, blah, blah. And it's all very artificial and kind of nauseating. And I kind of don't care, mostly because I've worked in the music industry for 12 years, and it's like, oh no, you get offended by a band that's a plant. Like, most of the music you sometimes listen to is, a plant. Lana Del Rey is a perfect example. They plucked her from obscurity and made her what she is. She's none of these Lolita bullshit things, daddy smokes cigarettes. She's none of that. So it's basically a band who are, they've came in, they're using buzzwords, #feminism, and people are getting annoyed about it. They're basically getting annoyed about how the music industry has worked for at least a good 30-40 years. And I'm kind of like, let's all grow up, shall we? And go and listen to Ashley because she's fantastic. Sorry, that's my TED Talk. Thank you very much.
What can you add to that, Mike?
Is there anything to add? That was like a fucking mic drop moment. I like that. I don't think there's really anything. I don't need to validate what you've said. You hold a better opinion on it than me, not only being a woman, but definitely being way more accredited when it comes to music than me. don't know why Levi decided to throw that in there. Did you try to start some sort of fucking gender war here?
I kind of take issue with the there's a question on there. My page froze, but it was a Loudwire article, and the heading that they put is "Are this band an industry plant?" And it's like, well, so what if the answer is yes?
Describe an industry plant. Was that a pop band?
Cheers, yeah.
Yeah, like
Well done.
Industry plants are just
The X Factor,
Typical.
pop stars,
Yeah.
all of these things.
most things that you are advertised in terms of music are
Anything that Simon Cowell has
industry
molested.
plants. Yeah. Anything where the artist hasn't done everything themselves, if the record label has said to them, we think you should tweak your image a little bit because it will make you a little bit more marketable, and if you make those tweaks, then we're happy to plow millions and millions of dollars into marketing you. Like, then is that person an industry plant?
Like sellout.
To me, unless this band are legitimately actual robots, animatronic robots, right? They're not plants, because they are people that have an interest in music, and they sing songs, and they do their thing, and they look to entertain people, and that's just the music industry. Why get wound up? Why are people getting wound up about it? And more importantly, why is this being posted on Loudwire, a metal website?
Probably because they look alt. But on top of that, right, these aren't just people that have been plucked out of the sky to be in this, to be in a band, to be featured in a band. There are 3 women that work in the music industry. I think 2 of them actually ghostwrite for people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one of them works in marketing. Like, that's not a plant. That's people using their experience in a market to find where they fit and making money and being successful. That's entirely what you want to be when you're a musician. You want to be in there. You want to know the right people. You want to know what's good and what's not good. Fuck me.
I like this. So, yes, Queen Guitar Soul is here. Preach, that rant was glorious. Go on, you ranty bugger.
Yes.
Love to see it, man. Love to see it.
Yeah, so I honestly couldn't tell you much about this band because I don't use TikTok, and I don't stay up with modern
Don't listen
trends.
to him. He's got fucking 30 odd videos on his private page. And Fortnite dancing. I've seen it, all of them.
Are Greta Van Fleet an industry plant? Is that why they get so much hate?
Good question, Connor. They're not an industry plant, but they definitely aren't an original band, which is ironic because neither were Led Zeppelin.
Fair point, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
What's all these songs that don't seem to have names next to them? My name goes there now. My song. Tell me I'm wrong. And I'm not saying they didn't have their own songs,
Sure.
but come on. Come on. Let's
Yep.
call a spade a spade.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
I like Ted C's comment here. So I think at some point every successful band has to decide their balance of putting out art versus product.
You're right.
Honestly, Ted, I'm gonna go and kill myself. You're absolutely you're correct, and that's the thing. And if you listen to commercial music, you either switch your brain off and realize that you're listening to music that takes you away from the day-to-day drudgery and the mundane part of living, and just deal with that, or you start picking it apart and going, "Is it art?" You can't do that, and you have to decide between art and product. There is kind of, you can do a halfway house, but it doesn't really work. And personally speaking, I've chosen art every time because I knew I was never going to want to sing commercial music, and I knew I was always going to not fit into the cookie cutter of what commercially a woman should look like in the music industry, and that's fine by me because I know how the industry works. But yeah, the people getting up in arms about it, it's just obnoxious is what it is. It's like you're getting up in arms about something that's happened for so long. You get up in arms about it now, but you were fine with it happening before, and lots of different people and artists and people who actually make art having to sell their soul in order to make a living. You were fine with it then, but now you're going to get up in arms about it now, and it's like, oh, fuck off, just fuck off.
Yep. And that's why Party Cannon will always be 100% product. 100% product.
Mike,
Give the people what they want. Songs about jobbies, King Kong drinking fucking Rubicon, pints of Rubicon, Neon, Genesis Evangelion, Ghost in the Shell, and other stupid shit like Screech from Saved by the Bell and how he did medical science experiments on himself for money at one point. So lots of really interesting topics for the mainstream. Obviously, we've targeted our demographic as being young men and women between 14 and 25. They're trendy. They dress for Primark. None of that's true.
I'm just going to throw another golden one from Phil Cross here. It's like a slightly drunk metal loose women. Brilliant. This is the slightly drunk metal loose women show.
I don't know.
I mean, if you think that it takes a double old fashioned to get me drunk, you've got no idea. You've clearly got no idea.
You're not a musician.
And loose women, I mean, that comment offends me mortally just purely because as a feminist, sometimes I watch loose women and think maybe women shouldn't have got the vote because they're so awful. Because they're so awful. Just because they're awful. Just because they're awful.
Nancy, if you're watching this, you're dumped. Levi, if you're watching this, leave. You and I, come on, step.
Let's do it.
Partnership for life. Friendship ended with Levi.
Okay, so let's.
This is our microphone now, by the way.
I should
You're in
really
here.
go, I should
Well,
leave.
you
Not
should,
at all.
You should tilt it like this at
You
least.
should absolutely not leave.
So let's go on to another story because actually, like, I'm kind of glad you are sitting around for this because I know you'll chime in on this one. So Paul McCartney and Kate Bush among stars calling for change to streaming laws. Rock stars including Paul McCartney, Kate Bush, Robert Plant and Stevie Nicks have called on the government to, and we've kind of talked about this before, but it was a new story, to reform the way musicians are paid when their songs are streamed online. More than 150 artists have written to Prime Minister Boris Johnson calling for new legislation to protect artists. They point out that songwriters earn 50% of radio revenues, but only 15% in streaming. The government has yet to respond. The thing I enjoy most about this is you've got some of the richest people that you can imagine. I mean, all right, fair enough. There's richer people than this, but they essentially have got their own little change.org petition to the government.
I don't think Paul McCartney really needs any more money.
No.
I mean, really, come on. If your fight is, I'm not bothered about my royalties, but really other musicians are struggling here, fair enough. That's not really how it's been put forward.
It's the thing I take issue with here is this. I mean, I get it. To the layman, and this was posted on BBC News, to the layman, they are going to read that, songwriters earn 50% of radio revenues, but only 15% in streaming. Well, to that layman, I want to say, well, yeah, that's because these deals were drafted up when it came to radio play, and songwriters negotiated what they could get, and up until they came to an agreement, the music couldn't be played. You know, the agreement was made, and then the music was played. Spotify don't just steal people's music, play it, and then go, well, we'll let you have 15%. That's the deal that you took.
I've got a feeling we've read this, if not a very similar article
We did.
before. Yes, because we're talking about Uber drivers, musicians being Uber drivers.
Yeah, I know we did. I mentioned that we did kind of talk about the story before, but it was just posted 6 days ago, so there must have been like an addition to it. But this is great. So, Melissa, what do you think?
My issue with this is mostly because Spotify is not holding a gun to anyone's head. And granted, I am more than pissed off about how much money I make from streaming services, absolutely, as an independent artist. But the fact is, there's more and more artists are coming forward and going, actually, fuck Spotify, we're going to put it on vinyl and we're going to put it elsewhere, and you need to buy it or you need to download it somewhere else. I think the thing that irks me more than anything else is they've taken it to government. And I think, as someone who was born very, very poor, into Roma and working class and all the rest of it, I think people like Paul McCartney going to the government and being like, "Where?" I'm like, no, shut up, Paul McCartney. Mostly because there's other bigger, more important fights to have, mostly because the music industry at the moment, particularly in Central Belt Scotland, I have to say, is populated by very wealthy, well-off middle-class artists, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But there should be other.
The gentrification of music is a bad thing.
I know. I don't want to get on my soapbox
Let's
even more.
do
So
it.
I mean, I'm a guest
You're
here,
in
and
the
I'm like,
fucking guitar solos,
to
you
be
need
even worse.
to do it.
I know, but it's like there's other things to fight. There's worse things happening than Paul McCartney is not perhaps making the correct percentage that he really wants, and and Kate Bush, like, these people can go fuck themselves because they could buy an island and start their own cult. So I'm not even interested. I'm more interested in going to the government with things like, maybe we should put money into starting things that encourage more working class and minority people to come into the music industry, rather than just populating it with middle class people who can afford to buy the best equipment and afford to live on nothing for the first few years of their career until they get successful. Unlike some of us that had 3 jobs until they got successful.
But you're not better.
I'm not better. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Let me just flick that chip off your shoulder.
You gave me an old fashioned and then you asked me to talk. Like, this is what happens.
I just said, bitch! Like, I felt it. Like a full-on Lizzo number.
It just seems like such a strange thing to me because, kind of what Melissa's saying there, like the idea of going to the government of all people.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want the government to do?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't get it. Like,
It's like phone the police because you haven't got the right wage.
yeah, you have a product, and then you're giving that product to someone to sell on your behalf, and they're saying, well, we're going to sell it for this much
And accept
and
it.
give you this cut. And then you're going, sure, okay, I'll take that deal. And then going to the government, they're not selling my thing for enough money. Make them charge more. It doesn't
work that way.
Just doesn't work that way. If Paul McCartney, if you're unhappy with Spotify, just take your music off. Just take it off.
And suck a bag of dicks, honestly.
Aye.
Suck a bag of dicks.
Both balls, dick, perineum, the lot.
So great response here. But unless we have a mass exodus of artists from Spotify, will the situation ever improve? No, you're absolutely right. Like, it would require everybody to do it. But the thing is, and it's why I push for ideas of like unionization in the music industry, because unless everybody is acting as one unit, you get the greedy people that will just hope that they can undercut everybody else. It's why the gigging scene is a nightmare. It's why the teaching scene is a nightmare, because you always have the less experienced person is going to come in and try and undercut everybody. They can't deliver the same product, but they will just charge less to do the gig. They will charge less for the teaching gig. And that's not good for anybody.
No, it's not a healthy competition in any way, shape or form. Not at all.
Yeah, we should be working together as musicians to say we will not be exploited in the way that you are wanting to exploit us. And it's a weird thing for me because, like, obviously I also have music on Spotify. I'm not annoyed about it in the same way Melissa is annoyed about it. Not because I wouldn't be happy to be making more money on Spotify. I make no money on Spotify. But because in my mind, I've kind of accepted that level of defeat. I've accepted that the modern music industry, the way the music industry has gone, the music itself is not the product anymore. It can't be the product because people literally won't pay for it. Mm-hmm. So you can't subsist. Is that the word I'm looking for here? You can't get by just by selling your wares of here's my music. You can, but it's a nightmare. It's just an absolute nightmare. Unless you already have a massive established audience, you're just not going to get there.
I should clarify. I do realise that like Levi says, I've obviously got all of my music on Spotify, and the money that I make from it. Let's just say I can't add another acre to the land, but the fact is, you kind of have to play the game in the sense that if I want to reach people, I do have to have my music on Spotify. So in a way, they do have me over a barrel in that sense. So I know that whilst I don't want to buy into a company that's going to sell my music on and stream it for fuck all, I have to do it because it's like a huge thing. They've bought into the consciousness of everyone in the world, so I have to do that. But at the same time, I realise that I have to do that. That's an acceptance that I have to do that in the modern society. And a bunch of the guys from the band Garbage were on the Josh Rogan show, and they were talking about how, it's a crime spree. We have to accept that crime spree because it's happening to us right now. I make money from things like PRS and PPL and what have you, or at least I did before the world ended. And yeah, you kind of have to accept it, but at the same time, I just don't want to see these articles of artists who, again, not unlike me, have thought, right, where are we going to put this music out? Where are we going to stream it? How are we going to let it be consumable by our audience? We're going to go to Spotify because, of course, they've got the consciousness of everyone else on the planet, and then complain when they're not getting the percentage they want. It's like, go fuck yourself, because the percentage you get is, whilst small, still makes you a huge amount of money. And for artists like me, who really need to make most of their money from performance and from PRS, we get fuck all from it, but we still, again, have to buy into that. You've got the option of doing what people like Gregory Porter did. You can go, no, fuck this. Buy my album on vinyl, or come and see me live, or you will not get my music on Spotify. And props. I just don't want to see Paul McCartney winning. I just don't.
Good, well said.
Stephen Austin said 1 cent per stream would be nice, and this is like sure it would be nice, but like this is where I sound like a Tory, right? But like, explain to me what the magic money tree like that just doesn't.
It comes out of Daniel Esk and his fucking cronies' pockets. That's where it comes from.
If the average Spotify user, and we actually know the average Spotify user doesn't even pay, they have a lot of free subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
If the average Spotify user, if the artist was getting paid 1 cent per stream, then that would mean that you as a consumer paying £10 a month for Spotify could listen to 33 tracks every day before you are then costing Spotify money. It's not viable. It's not viable.
Of course it's not viable, but the problem is the business, not anything else.
Sure. Well,
it's like blaming the consumer because a business can't pay its staff.
But that's sorry, I totally agree with you on there. But what I'm saying to Stephen Austin is like, if you want to give the artist 1 cent per stream, the only way that is viable is if you, the consumer, are willing to pay more for the service.
Truth is, I think it's very much a convenience thing, and as much as Amazon and Spotify have driven the price down and kept it relatable, and everybody else is launching their own fucking alternatives to it, if the service was good enough, people would pay the money. I think people pay 60, 70 quid a month for the fucking Virgin. I think people would pay 20 quid for Spotify.
That's coming out of fashion though. Like Sky and Virgin Media TV are just losing all of their business because people just
are using illegal boxes. That's only going to last so long.
No, it's not just that though. Like, you know, Netflix took a massive chunk out of TV licenses because.
And what's everybody else done? Disney TV, fucking whatever. Everybody's got their own on-demand, their own service you need to pay extra for.
Sure, which is going to come. That's all going to come to a head soon. And like, I'm getting to the point now where I'm going to unsubscribe from Netflix because they keep putting their prices up and there's too much competition out there. And like, they were very successful because they had the market share. There was no real competition for them.
They were the industry leader. They started.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to send you DVDs. You don't have to go to Blockbuster. We're just going to send you them. And then all of a sudden they went, we'll do it online.
Yeah.
And they offered it to Blockbuster, who knocked it back.
Yeah.
Like $1 million.
Yeah.
Fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Fucking idiots.
The classic is you can't. There's no point shutting the gate when the horse is bolted or whatever the phrase is. What's the?
It's the longest stable door after a horse is bolted. Eh?
There we go. Exactly.
Ken.
But
fucking accent.
But that's exactly what this is. So like, I think that you potentially are right that consumers would pay £20 a month for Spotify if that was always their only option. But Spotify was, when you really think about it, the free model was really a reaction to the iTunes model and the pirating model. Most people, the idea of paying for music is absurd to them because they don't work in the music industry, so they never really consider how the artist makes the music. It's just
even outside of that, I know plenty of musicians that I have for most of my life pirated music, which is shocking, and it's just the truth.
Yeah.
I've bought albums, I've went to see gigs, I've bought t-shirts, I've always tried to do my best to contribute back.
Yeah.
But the nature of information and the society that we live in, to use that fucking keyword of society, that's just it. Like, these things have no intrinsic value. Music doesn't have intrinsic value because it's everywhere, and yet there still is the expectation that despite it being everywhere, there's a value to how you should consume that. You know, when you go into shops, there's music playing. You down the street, people have usually got their radios blaring out their car.
Yeah.
Which goes against broadcast guidelines, really, if you were paying for a fucking PRS license or whatever. But you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I think technically a taxi shouldn't be playing music without a PRS license because at the end of the day, it's a premises of work. And they're playing music without a broadcast license.
I think you're probably
if
right.
we're being really fucking stupid and anal about it, that is a way to look at it.
Yeah.
But
that's
no wonder people just do not see it with any value because it's just thrown about.
And it's such a wonderful point that you make there about like taxis and not having a PRS license, because if you think back to, we covered it on the show a couple of months ago, where PRS were trying to raise the idea of having to pay a license fee for live streams, and they had that
my money.
Yeah, they had to walk that back because the average person that doesn't understand how the music industry works is like, how or why would somebody have to pay in order to put on a live stream? And they don't have any understanding of what PRS is, or that every shop that you go into, you'll see a sticker out the front of it that says has a PRS license, which means they have the right to broadcast music in their shop, because without that, artists aren't getting paid, musicians aren't getting paid. You have to be injecting money into this industry for artists to be able to make a living. And yeah, a cent per stream, I think, is, great. I certainly wouldn't be against the idea. But yeah, the only way that happens is the consumer pays more for it. It goes back to the good old days of when the only way for you to buy and listen to music was to buy a record. They were expensive, but that just meant that you didn't have access to many records.
But I also think, considering that music is not a finite thing, those files are not finite. There might be finite amounts on the servers and stuff, but you never get a Spotify out and they say, you can listen to 500 songs before our hard drive doesn't work. I think it's really important to not forget that there are going to be people who use it the same way that sometimes the big gyms do their pricing structures.
Mhm.
X amount of people are never going to use the amount that they're paying for.
Yep.
So we can subsidise it with other people that do. But again, there's not a finite thing. It's not as if there's like 50 machines in the gym versus there's only 50 people can listen to this song at one time.
Sure.
If the licensing was done right, that might be the case.
Yeah.
People might get paid better.
Mm.
But
I think the other thing to consider actually with Spotify is what I said before, is the idea that if it was £20 from the get-go, they would have maybe generated more revenue, but they've clearly gone for how low a price can we charge people for this, because it needs to be low enough that people don't mind it, because that's the only time you get people paying for a month's subscription to something and not being annoyed about it.
convenience always over cost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If it was
Always.
£20 and you there was a month went by where you didn't use the service, you're going to cancel it. If anything, based on that, I would say that, if Spotify was £5 a month, would they get double the users?
Probably not, because there's already so many people. It's a saturated platform.
Yeah.
So I would doubt that.
So it just comes back to what I was saying earlier, which is musicians need to accept the fact that collectively, not just we the musicians, but the consumers of music and the industry, we've all fucked each other, we've all betrayed each other, we've all devalued music to such a degree, we cannot take that back. We need to accept that we have done that thing, and to, rather than look at how things used to be and go, oh, if we could get back to the halcyon days of the music industry. No, accept that you have fucked it and go, okay, well, how can we improve this moving forward? How can we make the music industry better? What other ways are there for us to monetize our products? We know that the ways to do that are things like Patreon. So there are artists out there that are making good money on Patreon now. Their albums make them very little money, but they get money on sites like Patreon because they are engaging with the fans and treating the fans as part of the creative experience. Mm-hmm. It's a total alien concept. If you transported that back to the 1980s and said, this is how we're going to do the music industry, they'd be like, you're fucking insane. Why would you do that? But it's just...
Think about it though, it is insane.
Yeah,
Why should, companies are scalping all the money out of business, so they are out of the music business, so the artists aren't making any money, so therefore people need to pay for something twice. Think about it as a pricing model, it's insane.
I don't necessarily think that, don't get me wrong, I have no love for Spotify, and I saw that Daniel Ek is currently considering buying a football team.
Arsenal. Just mentioned that in the comments.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Where's this money coming from?
Yeah.
Well, we can take it right out of Daniel Ek's pocket, who did nothing for it.
Yeah.
Sorry, you set up a server where people can play music from it, nay bother. Maybe give that back to the artist, cunt.
Yeah, but this is the full circle thing, right? The artists are allowing it to happen. The only way this happens is if us artists allow it to happen.
It's almost as if the working class, if they unite, can take control. And if they seize the means of production, and what I actually mean is that all musicians break into any record label they can find, major record labels, not independents, they're obviously alright, and recording broadcast stations and studios, and just start putting shit out on their own terms, will be good.
I always knew you were an anarchist,
I'm
and
into it, man.
I'm completely fine with it.
You're down?
Yeah. Bush.
I'm not really an anarchist.
Lies.
Genuinely, I don't know where I stand, but I'm definitely for autonomy.
Yeah. And me too. I consider myself the classic libertarian in that sense, and
oh, there's the American buzzword that makes everybody angry.
You've got to own your decisions and fight for your own freedoms and not infringe on other people's freedoms. And in these scenarios, I just have no sympathy for the artists that are whinging about the deals that they've made. I
can't wait for you to rant in the front seat of your truck with your sunglasses on and your MAGA hat, just waiting on it. Sorry, you were going to say something there.
I was only going to say the fact that I get it. You're talking about, it's back to that thing of you sign up to these things and you accept.
Seize the streams of production.
Seize the streams of production.
And every time, man.
I get it. You sign up for something, you accept it. I do think that there was a weird part of me maybe about 8 years ago when I was only about 4 years into my career, where I was like, actually, I kind of love where the music industry is going right now, because they're going to be putting a much higher price on live performance. And as someone who's always prided themselves on being an incredible live performer, I was like, yes, it's moving away from this. You can get away with being a studio artist, whatever the fuck that is, where basically you lie through your teeth and auto-tune the shit out of everything, and you can just kind of get away with selling merch and music to people, despite the fact you have very little talent. So I was like, yes, this is going to be great.
You call Banter Cannon out right now? Is that how you feel?
I'm talking.
Talk about vague booking, eh? Don't at me.
Vague booking. Yeah.
Sorry, I totally didn't mean
That's okay.
to break your stride there. But you're right, there's so many people out there that are aesthetically musicians, but not actually.
Yeah, and I think with things, the way things are going with streaming, it makes me deeply unhappy. But again, I am not going to go on any platform and complain about it, because the fact is, the music industry has always been about play the game, because that's the way the music industry is, because the music business has more to do with business than it does with music. If you love music and nothing else on the planet, cool. Go into your house, play music until you're deaf. If you want to get involved in the music business, then you better believe it's not just about the love of music. In fact, most of the people in charge don't give a fuck about music, and they give a fuck about money. So,
it's always the same.
I'm okay with that.
It's always the same.
It's a game I've had to play, so it's fine.
Money, 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 money.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, I'm going to move on so we don't spend the rest of our lives sat here
Ranting?
ranting and drinking.
Right, cool. I think we should talk about something positive in the music industry then.
Yeah.
Would you like me to go and get you guys another drink?
Oh.
Would you like a wee New York sour? Levi has taught me how to make a New York sour.
I'm game for this, baby. Thank you.
New York sour.
Sure.
I like how half an hour ago I was like, I don't want to drink anymore.
Well, it's also, I'm very aware that this is not my podcast, but I'm still here ranting at people about,
I love it.
PRS and everything
I love it.
else.
It's a nice wee change.
Okay.
Thank
Better
you.
listen to this fucking dulcet tones.
Beautiful tones.
Yes.
Right, so let's talk about the Ando San signature Ormsby. It just occurred to me, like, we've been talking for an hour,
I know, man.
and that's great. Like, don't get me wrong, I have no issue with that. But I put up a thumbnail for this podcast, and it featured Steve Vai and Ando San, so I figured we should probably talk about
Probably should I.
those two characters.
I just want to say, right, before we even talk about it, and it's on screen right now for anyone that's watching, if you're not watching, go Google the Ormsby Ando San signature. Fucking hell, man. Oh! Run 16, chameleon paint, gold hardware, white bobbins on the pickups, flamed maple fretboard. Just look at it, man. It's ludicrous, man.
Yeah, my only comment on this,
Uh-huh.
my only criticism, if you like, is that it confuses my brain that it's a flamed maple fretboard, and obviously the flame runs parallel, but then the frets are fan.
I get you.
Every time
I've
I look
seen
at it,
that
I'm
even-
like, oh, it's got like weird like crisscross frets on it.
Well, let's just remember that this is a mock-up.
Sure.
Right,
Flame
it's
maple.
photoshopped.
You never know what your piece of flame maple is actually going to look like.
I
So.
think even regardless, it's going to be eye-catching. It'll be
Sure.
beautiful.
Yeah. And
I get what you mean, though. It could potentially be a wee bit ergonomically weird if it's the opposite way.
Yeah.
If you're that way inclined, which you and I generally are.
yeah, we were going to make mention of this just purely because we are sponsored by Omrsby, but also this is totally a cool looking guitar. This might be the sort of thing that you're into. So let's just briefly run through the specs. It's available as a 6-string, a 7-string, and an 8-string. This is the Ando San signature, swamp ash body, a laminated Wenge neck, flame maple fretboard, and the red gold color change chameleon in gloss finish. And pre-orders are open on Saturday, so this coming Saturday.
Ando, congrats, but more so, start designing guitars, man. That colour scheme, that finish.
Yeah. Set neck, by the looks of things.
Probably is, aye.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which
So you
is
got the Wenge right into the swamp ash.
which is kind of cool.
So bonny, man. Look at it.
Yeah, and I thought this is worth mentioning for two reasons. Not just because we are sponsored by Ormsby, but because if you're unfamiliar with Ando San's playing, you might enjoy what he's got going on. I don't want to play any of his music on the stream for obvious copyright reasons, but head on over to his YouTube channel, which is just Ando San. Check out his latest single, Juggle, or he's bigger on Instagram than he is on YouTube. So check him out on Instagram. Check his music out. In all honesty, just running through all our stories there. In all honesty, his music isn't for me. Like, it's not really my cup of tea. It's super modern, and I get why it appeals to a lot of people. Got all of the cool techniques, the thumping, slapping thing. Like, much respect for what he's doing.
There's a really good video from, I think it might even be the Abase booth, of Tosin playing some stuff, and Ando's in the background just watching, like, in amazement, and it became a meme for a wee while.
Right.
So it's funny you talk about the thumping technique and stuff, because obviously there's a similarity there.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of people doing that these days.
Yeah. I don't really even know how to really describe his music. There's definitely like a modern.
It's like chill hop.
Yeah, like the hip hoppy thing is.
It's there.
Yeah. So
It's a vibe.
If you're a cup of tea, check it out. Check his music out. Might be for you, and if it is, then maybe his signature Omrsby will be for you. So
absolutely, he's also really nice. I've not met him in person, but I've had plenty of interactions with him on the Omrsby chat, and he's always been super nice.
Yeah. So
well done, mate. We're proud of you.
Speaking of a guitar that I would, because
oh my god, what
actually
the
the Ando
fuck
San
is
one
this?
isn't really for me. Sorry, the Ando San one is for me. I would totally, although I'm not crazy on his music, I think it's a beautiful looking guitar.
Oh, absolutely, man.
I'm really confused by this. This is a Telecaster and an SG
Skocaster
mixed into one.
I gibbed a Skocaster and Pelacid Blue.
I should be clear, right? This is so up my street in terms of, not this particular double neck, but like everybody knows, not everybody, nobody knows who I am. Everybody knows I'm a Tele guy. I love a Telecaster. Telecasters are wonderful. But if Telecasters didn't exist, I would 100% be an SG guy.
Think so?
I love Gibson SGs. I think they're a wonderful instrument, and at their core, it's kind of got that similar Telecaster vibe to it. SGs are cheap. They're the cheap Gibsons. They're supposed to be quite simple guitars. You know, it's the fixed bridge thing, just simple instruments. I love an SG.
Fling a set of P90s in it and just go to town.
Yeah, I miss my SG. I had a wonderful
Was there not
SG.
a lot of arguments online years ago about whether the SG might be the loudest unplugged electric guitar body you could buy? Do you remember this being a thing?
I don't remember this. No.
I am pretty certain there was an argument genuinely online for potentially a few years talking about how people defended that the SG might be the loudest and most resonant body
there's
shape.
not a chance on that.
It's fucking lunacy, I know. That's what I'm talking about. But I remember there's been a conversation people were talking about and being like, what are you talking about?
The thing with me with an SG is it's those two pickups in a mahogany body. And it just has a sound to it. And it's not a Les Paul sound because it's a much thinner body. It's a very different instrument. That neck joint is also very, very different. SGs have a sound. And I find that guitars that I like my old Guthrie Sur actually is a really good example of this. That was a mahogany body, you know, the two humbuckers in it. And people think like, oh, you've got two humbuckers in your guitar. Like, so you it looks like a Strat, but you're going for the Les Paul-y type thing because you've got the humbuckers. Actually, no. The thing I loved about the guitar is it felt and sounded like an SG. So I love an SG.
So somewhere between the spanky of Strat and the thickness of Les Paul, isn't it?
Exactly.
There's that beautiful middle ground. That's why I mentioned P90s as well.
Yeah.
You get like a really distinct mid-focus snarl from the right P90, especially in the bridge of an SG. There is some, I don't know how to describe it other than like piercing, like it just cuts, and it's just maybe Angus Young's like the best way to describe it. Genuinely, there's something about that that's like a natural SG's tone. There
are a lot of guys that play SGs that are fantastic. Like obviously Derek Truck's a big influence of mine.
Derek Trucks is the king. There's nobody that does a slide like him, man. Nobody.
But more recently, I transcribed that Mahogany Rush album, the Frank Marino album. Frank Marino is an SG player, and just. Of course, everybody knows the ultimate SG is the SGV that Zakk Wylde had.
You say ultimate.
I know.
Please describe.
Well, the top half of an SG and the bottom half of a V.
No, I know the shape. What I'm saying is describe what makes it ultimate.
Well, Zakk Wylde played one, so that's usually my measuring stick.
Fair, but he's also had some nice guitars.
Yeah.
That I don't think the qualifying criteria is that Zakk Wylde played it. I think because he's got a lot of really nice guitars and he's got some fucking honkers.
With the best one, of course, being his coffin-shaped guitar,
Aye,
which was inspired by the
a coffin,
Bo Diddley signature model,
a square one.
which was completely square. And he said, "Let's do one of those and make it coffin-shaped, and we'll call it the Bo Deadly."
The thing I see the Bo Diddley model. It's actually called a Diddley Bow.
Yeah.
Which is mad.
Diddley Bow's the old. I wrote about these actually a lot in my Delta Blues slide thing book. The concept is just any
Cigar
a
box
stringed
of
instrument, it's a single stringed instrument that was just on brooms,
Mhm.
anything like that.
It's obviously a nod to the idea
the
of using
Diddley
cigar
Bow,
boxes
yeah.
or whatever. Yep.
Yeah. So I thought we'd mention that because it's
Hold on a wee
ghastly.
second.
But
Phil's left quite a few comments, and I'm sorry that I've
Sure,
I've
go
actually
for it.
missed them. First of all, I just want to go back to even the start of the stream, Phil. You mentioned something about losing a family member a few weeks ago. I'm really sorry you're going through that, mate, and thank you for the kind words about my gran. I just wanted to make sure that was covered. But also, would you guys be interested to see the guitar I'm building at the moment? I don't even need to read any more, but fucking yes, send us it, please.
yeah,
100%.
usual thing, and I kind of didn't say this at the start of the podcast, but GsolesFanMail@gmail.com.
Send us everything.
Send us anything, and we're happy to read stuff out on the show. Anything that we think is cool, we're more than happy to do that. So okay, let's do this. So let's do the Steve Vai thing because it kind of goes in line with the idea of a Les Paul and people playing Les Pauls.
And Strats.
A little bit clickbaity, to be honest.
Of course it is.
And I used the image of Steve playing a Les Paul in the thumbnail for the article because
A little bit clickbaity.
our most popular episode in a while was the one where we had Steve Vai in the thumbnail. So I thought I'd give that one another go, see how that goes.
Nice.
Steve Vai explain. There's a couple of things actually that I love about this article. Steve Vai explains why the Fender Strat wasn't good enough for him, and talks about the problems that he had with the Gibson Les Paul. So give us this.
It is pure and utter clickbait, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'll dive straight into it. So this came for Ultimate Guitar, and I'll just read you the quote that's been transcribed by them.
Just the first sentence. Though.
Oh, you want this as well? Sorry. During an appearance on the French Connection.
That's important. During an appearance on the French Connection, and then of course here you're going to have transcribed by Ultimate Guitar.
Of course.
So this wasn't on Ultimate Guitar, but go on.
Yeah, well, that's why I said transcribed by Ultimate Guitar.
Sure.
And the article's there. Smart
Yeah,
arse.
yeah.
He's right.
It's not for you. It's because of one of the comments that I'm going to read.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
And
Yep.
fuck it, let's just go straight to this comment.
You going
right?
for it? You diving right in?
Top comment. Seriously though, good interview. Ultimate Guitar needs to run more interviews with outright professionals like this. Motherfucker, Ultimate Guitar didn't do this interview. Did you read it?
Fair. You've
Ultimate
obviously
Guitar don't do interviews.
not happy about that. Calm down.
Yeah.
But you're right.
It's like us going, someone sent a message, I absolutely love that Steve Vai story that you covered. You should do more interviews like that.
But to be fair, it's not as if the Ultimate Guitar are saying they did it. That's somebody else's misunderstanding.
Yeah, I know. So it's not a criticism of Ultimate Guitar. It's not a criticism. It's just reminding people that when you're reading something, think about who wrote the thing that you're reading.
Yes, the source is very important.
Yeah.
As I seem to discover, the more I use the internet and say to Nancy, like, have you seen this thing on Facebook? And she goes, you seen it on Facebook? Don't believe it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, fucking Tom, it's on Facebook. And I'll show her it and she'll be like, no, that's bollocks. And then I'll look it up and I'll be like, right, yeah, kill one Google, and I realise it's bollocks. Thank you.
You're sounding like an alcoholic though there. on Facebook.
That's me doing my Scottish accent. Fucking end up doing some Rab C. Nisbet impressions in a minute. I'll tell you, son.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, so this was transcribed by Ultimate Guitar. They didn't do the interview. It was a French Connection. And Steve Vai said, and I quote, I love the way in the early days when Jeff Beck balanced that between Les Paul and Strat. And for me, it was the same thing. It was like Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix, I knew instinctually the moment that I saw a whammy bar, I knew what it was. I knew it was an extension of my body. I just knew that I was going to be using a whammy bar for the rest of my life as soon as I recognised what it was. But I didn't like Strats because they didn't sound rock and roll to me. They just didn't have... They had something. They were great, of course, for certain things. Richie Blackmore made it sound good. Hendrix made it. I couldn't. They were hard to play and they just didn't sound good. But they had a whammy bar. So Les Paul sounded much thicker, richer, but they're totally different beasts. I couldn't really play Les Pauls well because there's a way they sit and I just wasn't comfortable with the way they sat. They didn't have whammy bars. You just described how I feel about Strats and Les Pauls.
Right.
Genuinely. And that's why I was reading it so effectively.
I was going to say I really enjoyed the
diction.
Yeah, you really personified the entire thing.
Thanks. I've actually been thinking about this. I think when I read a lot of articles these days, I'm quite... And then he said this, and that was this. So I'm going to jazz it up a wee bit.
So what you're saying is we should put this Steve Vai feature originally in French Connection, transcribed by Ultimate Guitar, and then brought to life by Mike.
I can do it in your accent if you want.
Please do.
That would make it even more interesting.
Do
Great question, and trust me, it was... No, I'm going to do it. Sorry. No, I'm even going to...
bottle of water.
Bottle of water? Have you got a licence for that bottle of water licence? Oh, son, you're nicked. I know that part.
I mean, I don't really even want to read any more of the,
Nah,
the story.
I think that
but,
says enough, doesn't it? Like, Steve Vai doesn't like Les Pauls and he doesn't like Strats. Good for him.
but he loves a whammy bar. There was certainly something else in there where he talked about the idea of like whatever I was going to play was going to have that Les Paul sound, but I need a whammy bar.
But what's most important is 69 concurrent viewers. Nice.
Nice.
Sorry, right, we've got a couple more stories to talk about, and this one kind of links, to use a segue that doesn't quite fit. You don't have it up. There is a global shortage of alderwood, a swamp ash, sorry, and there's a lot of companies will not be using it. Clearly you've not got that on there. You haven't checked your Guitar Souls admin page.
And you're telling me this is in the admin page?
I'm saying you're on it, but you haven't checked it. Is it not posted? Are you fucking joking?
No, it's not.
Right, never mind. We'll skip that then.
No, give us the basic rundown.
The gist of it is that there is a concern that swamp ash is going to run out very quickly, and that I think Fender, maybe a couple other companies, I'm pretty sure it was Fender that was in there,
Right.
are moving towards not using ash or swamp ash at all.
Well, Fender had stopped using swamp ash a while back
Mm-hmm.
because people took massive issue with the fact that you could only get tellies as older. Just the American ones, they only do them in older now.
Right.
Yeah, strange one. Definitely a strange one. Oh, I think actually no. I tell you what, I do know the story you're talking about. There was the one about pests.
Yes, that's right. It's to do with a pest in the wood or a parasite in the hand.
Yeah.
You okay?
There it is.
I may have went nuts with the red wine float.
Oh
Just a
my
little bit.
god! Thank you. So kind. I am
That's
worried.
not really a red wine float. That's me. I fucked it.
I'm ready to drink it.
That is more than 50% red wine.
Can I have a high five?
You can indeed.
I'll take a high five.
Oh shit.
Even in COVID times.
I promise you it's delicious. Taste it. I
Listen,
promise
I've no doubt it will be. I'm half pissed anyway. It even smells nice. Oh, thank you. Really? Like fruity?
you. It's not as nice as the Levi New York Star.
Bit- I mean, the only
There's
real
a
difference
percentage
between them
involved.
is
It doesn't matter.
the only real difference between them is the amount of red wine.
The amount of red wine.
The amount of red wine.
I'm gonna have to end the stream. Levi's
You're a
pissed.
strong man, you were fine.
Oh yeah, I'll be absolutely fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Are you not
If
coming to
you
join
could,
us?
I think you guys have had enough of me.
Disagree.
to be fair, we're just talking about actual guitar related things now.
That'd be even more fun. You're just sitting there like, it's fucking idiots.
But after telling us that you think that women shouldn't have the vote, I feel you probably wouldn't be offended if I would say, "Can you get my dinner on, please?"
No. You're missing it. I said when I watch Loose Women, I think women shouldn't potentially have the vote
Right.
because of Loose Women. But
Right.
then I'm like, no, I'm a feminist. And they should.
Okay.
But, you know.
Right.
So shut your whore hole.
Just no, did they just turn the knob up in the microwave waiting for him coming home or getting into the house?
No, I'm just gonna take a giant shit in the oven.
Even better. Even better. Duke dinner. Anyway, that went a bit off course.
I did.
Love it. Love to see it.
Yeah, let's do this weird story.
I don't think I've even read this. I think you and I have been updating different pages or something. But it's okay, I'll read that. 12 days ago, guitarist spent 22 years learning to play King Crimson's Fracture and wrote a book about it. Anthony, I'm going to say Garone, chronicles his very long journey to conquer Robert Fripp's 1974 Moto Perpetuo masterpiece. If you think Steve Vai's legendary 10-hour and 30-hour guitar practice regimens were excessive, that amount of time is kid stuff compared to the intense training Anthony Garone outlines in the new Failure to Fracture. The new book chronicles Garone's 22-year journey to master the electric guitar parts to King Crimson's Fracture, a song once described by composer Robert Fripp as impossible to play.
We all wish we could be our own critics, don't we?
Oh, it'd be great, wouldn't it? Like, Party Cannon will never be topped. Never. It is pure art in its finest form. Nothing can be close to that. It is the closest you will ever get to a non-fungible token that isn't on the bit chain.
Everybody seems to want Melissa to come back.
Aye, I agree with you, man. She's a good partner.
Well,
yep.
I've got great news for you. I'm working on a podcast with Melissa, so
I'm getting phased out. That's basically what's happening here. Look, he's even got his fucking trimmers out so he can cut me off. Sorry. Right, so I'll continue this. The 11-minute instrumental, which hails from Crimson's 1974 opus Starless in Bible Black, is famous for a section roughly 3 minutes in where Fripp begins a non-stop barrage of notes called a moto perpetuo.
Are you familiar with this piece?
Nope. I don't know any King Crimson.
Always wanted to learn guitar but didn't have time. Bender play
I'm also
is
not bothered about Robert Fripp.
Yeah,
Which
grab
is
some headphones.
probably a bad attitude, but
I just want people to hear this, right?
well,
So
we're
I
going
can
to
throw
hear
some shade.
it.
the solution you've been waiting for.
Bender
Playing
play.
an instrument has been
Fuck off. This is it.
So he's just gone up and down an augmented tone. He's changed it now. I know it was 1974, but fuck me, is this boring?
Yeah, so I think what I wanted to play that and give people an idea of what this is all about is the arrogance and it's ignorance of guitar players of a certain ilk, right? It took you 22 years to learn how to play that.
I don't think anybody else could hear that, by the way. Based on your Mike's comment, are we meant to be all able to hear it? You didn't hear it? No, sorry. Levi's a bad man.
You can definitely hear it. I can see that you can hear it. It might be quiet. I'll put it back on while I'm talking.
I'll do you one better.
Yeah,
Just don't listen to it and shit.
I can see the levels.
Shit, don't listen to it. Isn't it?
Well, it is dismissive, right? And I don't get me wrong, like I have respect for Robert Fripp, like putting something like that in the middle of a song, but like I say, it's an ignorant position and laughable of Robert Fripp to describe it as impossible to play, right? Because this is only difficult for a certain type of guitar player, right? This is only difficult for the type of guitar player that has devoted his life to 3-note string picking patterns, pentatonic picking patterns, right? 22 years to play this. You give this to a bluegrass player, he will play this first take. Because this is just cross picking, right? This is literally just playing one note on each string, yeah? That's not, I don't want to say it's not a difficult thing to do. It absolutely is a difficult thing to do. But it just depends on the school of learning that you come from.
Oh.
And I often criticize like the whole rock technique thing because rock guitar players avoid techniques like that because it's like, well, it's really hard to do this at speed and there are other ways that I can achieve this. And like, sure, I get it. There are other ways that you can do these types of things and you can do them faster, etc. But it's at the cost of being able to do something like this, which shouldn't be difficult. This should not be difficult. You know, Martin Miller would bust this out. I mean, I was talking to Martin about this earlier.
He was in earlier on. Did you not see him in the
sorry,
comments?
sorry,
I
Poppy.
like that he jumped in with hi fuckers.
Yeah.
Love it. If you're still here, Martin, we love you.
Yeah.
We love you.
I was talking to him about this, and he said the problem for
Last
of
time I
learning
spoke to him, we were
this.
talking about computer games.
Yeah, Martin always wants to talk to people.
He does, aye.
The problem of learning this wouldn't be the technique of pulling it off. The problem of learning something like this would be just the sheer length of it, like the memory in order to memorize all the parts that you have to play. But when it comes to the actual
Composition.
just the execution of the technique.
Okay.
This guy is still really sloppy when he's playing through it. Really sloppy.
I'm not going to lie, I kind of thought that was part of the vibe. I thought that was him trying to copy like the live feeling of
Potentially,
what Robert Fripp sounded like. But I don't know the original source, so I was kind of just going by what I could hear
Sure.
of him playing over the top.
When you look at his his picking hand, we live in the like a post Troy Grady generation, right? So we've analysed technique in like a ridiculous level. So anybody
Adam
that
Neely
has
as well.
followed that will be able to look at this and see why this man is struggling to play this, because his technique doesn't allow him to do the single note per string picking thing. So to have devoted 22 years of your life to this and then to write a book on it and say, look at the challenges I've overcome, you didn't overcome challenges here. It's 22 years of you learning to overcome the hurdles that you created for yourself, and then at the end of that you still didn't realise that you put the damn hurdles there.
22 years to learn a song.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be in a band if I took 22 years to learn a song. Just going to put that in context.
Yeah.
Not saying it isn't a hard song to learn.
Yeah.
But it would have to be that it'd be like perfected to say 22 years to get it. I mean, like, and it would have to be something that's on the same level as like fucking Sean Lane, Powers of 10.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about like note for note delivery. Even tabbing out the fucking synth parts and whatever else and being like, I know every bit of this album inside out. If you played me 4 notes consecutively, I could tell you exactly which song and where from. That's where 22 years should go.
Yeah.
Not a single song where it's still sloppy.
Yeah, and then at the end of that going, well, I wrote a book on it as well. Like,
But on top of that, like, I'm going to wind back a bit, right? Not shitting in this guy's achievements. He's obviously worked very hard. But, come on. It's just an average feat that's taken a man too long.
well, I kind of do respect the fact that he's written a book on the subject, because writing books absolutely isn't easy.
Is it a good book?
Well, I've not read it, but
Exactly.
I should probably add it to my collection and have a read through it. In the same way that I would be interested in, like a bluegrass player writing about learning how to sweep pick, because it's not necessarily looking at this and going, oh, so this is what it's like to learn a thing. It's more a perspective of, oh, okay, if you have all of these skills and you come from this world of playing, what struggles do you face if you put yourself in a different mode? Because that's what this is. This isn't earth-shattering rock guitar playing.
No, of course not.
This is completely vanilla bluegrass playing.
So, in my
For the
brain,
bluegrass
right,
player.
if you imagine a joiner reading a book on welding,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
they've got all these other tools. This is a tool they don't necessarily use. It doesn't fit completely outside of their realm, but different approaches, different techniques, different understandings of their materials and their tools. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm half cut, by the way. I
Sure.
can feel it.
Yeah, it was a strong cocktail. So the thing that I guess that I'm really commenting on is it's more, again, we're often talking about shitty journalism, and the Guitar World article, when they posted this on Facebook, I just took such issue with the way that they posted about it, because they're talking about, learned one of the hardest pieces of music and has absolutely perfected the technique, etc. And it's like, if you took you're listing this as one of the hardest pieces of music of all time because the man that wrote it described it as impossible to play. You're listing it as one of the hardest pieces of music of all time because a guy that can't play it very well said it's one of the hardest pieces of all time.
As did the guy that wrote it.
Yeah, you're saying that he's perfected it because he says he's perfect. Like, did you click on this for 2 seconds? And I don't know why I keep saying Martin Miller. Martin Miller's an incredible alternate picker, but you put this on for Andy Wood. Andy Wood would fucking eat this shit for breakfast.
But there's guys that you can play things with that can just play them back to you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, there's guys out there that have got every tool in the wheelhouse, and there's guys out there that have got certain tools. I'm definitely typecast to good at alternate picking, good at fast picking, tremolo picking, accenting in with power chords essentially, and maybe playing fast single note runs. But when it comes to like double stops and really tasteful bends and stuff, that's not me. Like, I wish it was. I really wish it was. But I suppose I've grew up in a different discipline per se. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Where do you look at it like a martial art?
Dream Purple Floyd says, I agree that this is nowhere near impossible, but it's way harder than it looks. Requires a lot of nuance to make it sound right. 3 minutes of non-stop 16th notes. No, absolutely. Like, don't get me wrong. I couldn't do this. My point is, I understand technique, and because it's something I'm fascinated by, and I know the types of players that can play this sort of thing. And 3 minutes of it is nightmarish, no matter what way you look at it. But at its core, what we have here is single notes per string, alternate picking single notes per string, which is very, very hard to do. You need to devote a lot of time to it. Like, to be fair, you do need to devote 22 years of your life to get that technique as good as it needs to be to do this type of thing. But let's not pretend that this gentleman that's learnt this and Robert Fripp are the only two guys that did that, because the point is the entire bluegrass world is full of guys that eat this stuff for breakfast. I really don't want to downplay the piece. Like, it's definitely hard to play. But it's nowhere near impossible. It's just a different school of thought. It's exactly what you said. It's a joiner having a go at welding.
That's just the way I see it. Like,
Yeah.
it's we're all in the same trade of making music, but whether you're in the same trade of or the same field of making music, whether you're in the same trade of how you make that music is a completely different thing. There's loads of stuff I couldn't do, you know what I mean? Andre, good comment. I buy my sugar, I buy that logic is worse. That is absolute nonsense, but when you think about that single, which is what, 30 minutes of one song, or like 13 minutes or something like that. It's an EP, just one single track. It's organised chaos. You listen to that recording and you know it's tight as fuck, and it might be, don't get me wrong, like totally chopped to bits, but it's ridiculous. I know what you're talking about, Andrew. I think it's the same guy that does covers of like full albums in one go. Because I've seen guys doing necrophagist albums, Onset of Putrefaction or whatever, just in the one go. Every single song, one guitar track, and they'll play the lot. That's mental. But hi.
So, yeah, it certainly doesn't.
Anthony Garone, you can fucking get on one.
Where?
What's his name? No, the chap that tried
Oh,
to fucking...
sorry.
Jesus Christ, Levi,
I'm
you
very
steaming?
A little bit, yeah. I've not had my dinner, remember? I ate a block of mac and cheese. Like a Mars
block of
bar.
mac and cheese.
You saw me in the kitchen.
Aye,
just
to be fair, man, like it was like... It was not...
fully congealed.
Yeah, okay.
Picked it up like a block. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, to be clear, one last time, I'm not throwing shade at this guy from a perspective of like, you've not achieved something here. You absolutely have. It would take me probably 22 years to be able to get through this piece as well. But I think it would be fascinating to send this video to someone like Troy Grady, and go, Troy, what do you think about the technique here? Like,
do one better. You should transcribe exactly what he plays in that video, because I can imagine it'll be like most of the notes will be off the
lots
grid.
of X's.
Exactly, you know what I mean? Mac and cheese gang. I was telling Levi and Melissa before I came here that I just did a quick micro meal for dinner. I had like a Wicked Bros Asda or Tesco partnership thing. When you're talking about mac and cheese, Andre, if you like, I don't know if you eat vegan. I've been eating mostly vegan these days, more so just for the fact that it's less shite in my food. But they do a thing called like Lethal Mac or something, and it's like meant to be mac and cheese. By the way, for vegan stuff, don't be wrong, most vegan cheese is fucking bouffing.
Sure.
Bouffing. Like coconutty feet. That's the only way I can describe it. More feet than coconut.
Coconutty feet. Glorious. To put that into perspective, this is a comment. Robert Fripp has stated multiple times that when practicing this piece for live performance, this song takes as much time to practice as all the other songs together.
Maybe we should just get better at playing it.
Well, that's exactly it. Again, it's like
Such an ignorant sense, though.
But his analysis of how difficult something is not necessarily like a fair or objective analysis of how difficult something is. Just because I could do the same with some of my stuff. Like I could say that I find this really difficult.
Of course. But
doesn't necessarily mean that it's...
Johnny Highland would nail that easily. Oh, without even trying it. Chappers would do it in 22 seconds, such as this power.
Chappers would play...
Tremendous.
Chappers would play all 3 minutes of it in 22 seconds.
Andrew, I'm not sure which word you asked for there. Sorry.
Bouffin.
Bouffin. Boufin. Bouffin usually means... Bouffin is like... disgusting, essentially. It's disgusting! Something that's bouffing either smells really bad or tastes really bad or is just a generally disgusting thought.
Yeah.
Like, you can talk about a person being bouffing and you would mean that as in they are unclean, dishevelled, unattractive. But if food is bouffing, it's disgusting. Aye. Bouffin. There's your new one. Boufin. Bouffin. Fucking bouffin, by the way.
Okay, so...
this genuinely gets me excited.
Yeah, let's close the show out with this strange bit of news.
Just before we go into that, can we really quickly say, obviously by this point, most people that are actually interested in tuning in for stories and not interested for tuning in for you and I being fucking drunken idiots are probably off by now, but
sure.
Anyone that sells on Reverb who's on the channel at the moment, please be very careful.
Sorry.
It's alright, I just thought we'd jump in with it. This happened just before we were starting to record. Reverb have sent a message out essentially saying that part of their security protocols have been... Somebody's found a zero-day exploit for anybody that's into computers. Essentially, someone's found a way into their systems and has somehow potentially gained the information in terms of contact information, name, address, phone numbers, email. It's publicly accessible, but they don't believe anyone has actually looked at it. They've emailed stuff out. They don't think that anyone has had access to it or misused it, nor do they believe that the password or payment information was involved in any way. So, just if you've got a Reverb account, please go change your password. Just be careful.
Yvor has said, did you know that Johnny Highland is a Kiesel signature artist? He's been a Kiesel signature artist for a few years. He's had a Kiesel signature for a few years.
It reminds me of like Chris Poland's now a fucking Schecter in Dorsey. When would you ever have seen that? Like, you don't see it happening. You don't see it coming.
Johnny's a really weird one to be a Kiesel signature artist because he doesn't really speak to their average user, and I think the average Johnny Highland fan probably wouldn't buy a Kiesel either. Yeah. But he's getting a little bit of shade thrown at him in the comments for saying that he's had a signature model with everybody excluding TTM, and I don't really think that's true. When I think of Johnny Highland, obviously, like I really love Johnny Highland's playing. He's had a few endorsements. He was with Ernie Ball for a long time. He was with PRS for a period, and now he's with Kiesel. I can't really think of him playing any other brands, but I could be wrong on that.
When I think he's Johnny Highland, I think he's Telecasters. I think Fender.
I don't think he's ever played a Fender.
Really?
Yeah.
Am I tripping? I think it's somebody else.
Genuinely don't think he's ever played a Fender.
I must be tripping. Then.
I mean, okay. I'm sure he's played a Fender. Actually, he plays a Fender in his Hot Licks video, but he's certainly never
endorsed one.
He's never been, like a brand ambassador for Fender or anything like that. But he absolutely was a brand ambassador for both PRS and for Ernie Ball.
There's every chance I'm thinking of somebody else because I am so shit with names. And
also he's a country guy, so.
But I know, I genuinely think. That's who I'm thinking. Why do I think of him as a Telecaster guy, despite the fact that that's quite clearly a Music Man / Ernie Ball?
Yeah, and the first picture is PRS. Is PRS? Oh no, I can't.
No, that looks like another Ernie Ball.
He played Ernie Ball for the longest time. Went for PRS for a while.
I mean, his keys are essentially just as a Telecaster with a middle single coil.
That's really fucking boring. That's what it is.
It's not really nice, is it? It's not that it's ugly. It's just not exciting. There's a better way to put it.
Yeah. Samurai Finger says pretty sure that he's played or talked about the Chapman T series. That's terrifying.
Another week and still no Mike's signature Ormsby. Shake my head. You're right, name redacted. You're fucking right. To be fair, even if it was the case, they're like, right, we really want to look into getting a signature model for you. I would be like, I have no idea what I want. I get analysis paralysis when it comes to customs, man. I'm not like you. I want this.
We could probably push that. Push Perry to do a Mike McLaughlin signature.
I definitely don't want a signature because
model.
Who's going to buy it? Unless it's like the most beautiful guitar.
Let's be fair though. Could you not say exactly the same about the Ando San?
No, Ando's got a much more.
Ando's got 9,000 followers on Instagram and 2,000 YouTube subscribers.
I think he does a lot more than that in terms of his actual band and that though. No,
those are his numbers. Like, I'm not saying that's pathetic. Like, it's hard to get 9,000 followers on Instagram, but the point is, like, why not?
Maybe, who knows? Maybe one day. I'm not going to say yes. I'm not going to say no. I'm certainly not going to turn down the idea of it. I would quite like to indulge my ego in that sense, but I'm also very understanding that my ego might be larger than my actual abilities and stature.
My point is that it's actually the opposite. Like, Melissa often looks at bands, but even artists that I'm working with, like Ariel Posen or Casey Roberts and Live Revolution. I'm like, I could probably shoot Casey a message and maybe you could talk to him about like album production and things like that. Maybe he could give you a few points. She's like, oh, he's not going to take time out of his day to talk to me. I'm like, girl, what are you talking about? You guys are the exact same level in terms of like where your career's at, the sizes of audience that you play to, the followings that you have. I
think Casey's. I know what you're saying. I think Casey's maybe just a bit more nailed on the. I don't know actually. No. I'm just going to say that because I know he's got a lot of content.
It's local legend type stuff.
Yeah, for Toronto.
Yeah. So I think Melissa looks at things and she's like, she hears someone like Ariel Posen, and she's like, wow, his record sounds really good, and like he's from the other side of the fucking earth, and like he's over here touring and stuff. And then I'm like, yeah, but he's playing like stereo. She's like, tiny. I play bigger venues than stereo, and I'm like, well, yeah. Like,
I mean, you're never going to be a hero in your hometown.
Sure.
But you're probably going to sell a bigger crowd than somebody that's maybe not known in this country.
Of course. But yeah, so the point is like, as musicians, I think it's so easy to look at people on the other side of the world doing their thing, and you look at them and go, oh, they're such a big deal. And it's actually, you need to look at what you're doing and going that what you're doing is of equal value.
Okay, right.
You
fair
just
enough.
look at these people and you're like, oh, I'll put them on a pedestal. And it's like, no, these people are more often than not, they're your peers.
I'm not putting people on pedestals. I'm not saying they're not my peers. I'm just being very realistic about the expectations that I have on myself and others have on me.
I mean, I've already
Fuck
talked
off,
about
Phil.
I've already talked about blessing a whiskey cask on this and then releasing a guitar solos whiskey. So, what did Phil say? Sorry.
Mike's signature featuring a Scotch burst finish and an Arriva seat padded gig bag. Fuck off. Good part, buff.
I mean, if that happened,
No.
if
The
you
gig
got a
bag can be
signature
plain,
guitar,
but the strap.
yeah, if you got a guitar, the inside of the gig bag would have to be
Oh.
yeah,
Bus material.
yeah, exactly.
Rotten felt.
I'm absolutely telling you, right? If somehow we manage to wrangle you a signature guitar, I personally, out of my own pocket, will pay to have the insides of the gig bag lined with recycled Arriva bus seats.
I tell you right now, you know it's not authentic if you don't hit the inside of it and it just forms a dust cloud instantly. It's the only way you know. It's the real trick.
Oh, fantastic!
I would do that, man. I mean, you know fine well that I really like the played Yamaha signature. Fuck, who am I thinking? It's no Scotty Anderson.
Fuckins.
Michael D. Firkins.
Yeah.
With the played the fucking tartan.
Oh no, that's the
What do you call it?
Blue
Fucking-
Saraceno.
Mark's got one. Blue
Blue
Saraceno.
Saraceno,
That's right.
yeah.
Mark's got
Yeah.
one. Shout out to Mark.
Yep.
Um,
seem to be lagging behind, sir.
you want me to start scalping because I was behaving because you were looking like you were going to spew. Shout out, I believe Mark's channel is Master the Guitar.
Master the guitar. Yeah.
Master the Guitar. Go follow. Go like. Say hello to Mark. He's a good guy.
Yeah. So if you're a Reverb user, change your passwords.
Yes. Anyway, we're vastly approaching 2 hours.
Yeah. Final.
He's half got 2.
Final story. You say you're interested by
This
these.
is the one that really excites me, right? You and I were talking earlier on today about fly rigs, and I was showing you what the things
Sure.
I've done with the pedal board,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Really basic shit that's going to make my life a wee bit easier.
Sure.
For anybody that's interested, I've got a really wee pedal board that I use for my fly rig. Spoke about it before. I've got the 44 Magnum Electro Harmonics power amp, which 50 watts to a cab, perfect, no bother, etc. And a wee preamp and whatever else, and everything's wired up. I was showing Levi how I modded the board to have basically like removable feet so that it fit
Yeah.
in the gig bag and stuff, right? So if anybody's interested, tell me and I'll put it in the comments or I'll make a wee video on it. But fly rigs are a part of an obsession for me at the moment. Small parts of equipment with big sound and that sound great. There is no doubt in my fucking mind whatsoever that this Friedman BE Mini 30, despite being solid state, is going to sound fucking tits. And look at that price. Look at it. What are you thinking? What are you saying? I can feel it in your bones already. I just don't see it. I'm not into it.
No, I do see it. Okay, so for anybody that's listening and not watching, Friedman BE Mini 30-watt guitar. See, even I can do the accent that you do with me.
Your was asking me to continually do the Yorkshire accent. Yorkshire. We went camping at one of the festivals, and there was people next to us for Yorkshire, and they were continually shouting Yorkshire, Yorkshire, and somebody in our crowd in the tents was getting so fed up with them every time they were fucking shouting it.
Was it Fergie by any chance?
Aye.
Yeah.
You heard the story?
No, I haven't, but I just know that if anybody's going to get...
That's it. So they kept going, Yorkshire, and every time they shouted, he went, puddings, and just kept doing it to the point where they stopped. Like, they must have been so fed up with him. And they were all big rugby players, like, just getting tanked up. Yorkshire, puddings, you fucking cunts. I just take the piss out of them.
To follow
Andre,
up...
send me a PM. I'll be more than happy to run you through all the stuff I use. More than happy.
So Friedman BE Mini 30-watt guitar head amp, solid state travel amp, $329, which is a great price. It's a great price. I feel that when I look at this, it is an incredible price, but then I go, okay, well, it's solid state, so not all that expensive to produce.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not point-to-point wired. It's just going to be a simple circuit board in there type thing, yeah?
It's only rumoured to be solid state. I mean,
Oh,
very
at that
likely to be
price,
solid
yeah.
state at $329.
Yeah, at that price.
But you never know. Friedman are big enough that they could probably be like, you know what, we could probably invest a good bit of money into this and get these out.
I just think no, because if it's going to be a 30-watt, valve amp, you're looking at like Rev, D20 or G20 price points.
Well, it might even be a hybrid. It might be a solid state
Sure.
preamp and then 2EL fucking
Well,
84s or something. I don't know.
Okay, so it's only fair to say that I'm basing this based on the information that's been leaked.
Yes.
So $329 for a solid state 30-watt mini guitar head. I'm not saying that that's bad. Let me be super clear. I'm absolutely not saying that that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I am saying that you're talking about fly rigs and things like that. I think that these ideas of fly rigs are becoming considerably more popular, and the whole concept of them is that you are removing the head. The amount of people that are using a preamp pedal or like the Blug guitar thing.
No, it's not that you're removing the head, it's that you're consolidating your power amp and your preamp into your pedal board.
Yeah.
Which is essentially doing what you're saying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, see if you had this and you didn't need a drive and you didn't need any other fucking about.
Sure.
Like, this is essentially what I was like when I had the crank. And that's my point. If you've got a lunchbox head that has enough power and sounds good, doesn't require you to be tap dancing over pedals to get the sound you want.
Yeah.
So fucking easy for travelling with.
Yeah.
And if it is solid state and it sounds good, even better because it means it's light. It's
Yes.
reliable.
Yeah.
You don't have to service parts on it other than your fuse and checking your pots are clean.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's reliable.
No, totally. Yeah. But let's put it this way. For the people that this is going to appeal to, I think that it's great for what it's offering. The Friedman brand name on it, $329 is a ridiculously low price. Yeah, the question I'm asking is actually how big of a market is this?
I think at that price, there isn't really any concern about market because generally speaking, if you can't really afford anything totally boutique, but you want something sounding good, you're going to go for this. If you are already buying fucking, I don't know, man, going out there and buying Soldano Avengers on the second-hand market and not giving a fuck, there's $5,000, give me that. Thank you, no bother. Oh, wait a minute, there's a diamond cab. I've not seen one in a few while, there's $1,200. Fuck, there's a Mitsubishi Theo. Oh, ported, no bother, $1,500. You know what I mean?
But
it's chump change.
no, sure, I do
Use
agree
the
with you.
term.
But for the person that is out there searching for those type of things, they are going to immediately be put off by the word solid state. They're going to go, oh, for that $329, you know what I'm going to spend that $329 on? A boutique pedal.
But are they though? Because I'd imagine if they're going for something that's got, look at you plugging. if they're looking for something that's solid, or sorry, a power amp and preamp, I would imagine competition at 329 quid, something like a Katana, like a Boss Katana. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. They are very good.
Sure.
But if you want something that does a bit of everything, you're going to go with the Katana. If you want something that sounds like a pissed off British voiced amp, but a tiny wee head, probably going to try and head towards this.
Sure.
Because I would imagine when I drive in front of this, it will still sound fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, the thing I guess I find really interesting about this is this whole new market, isn't it, of like lunchbox heads, tiny amps.
Have you seen the Trace Elliott Elf bass head?
I don't look at any gear anymore.
It puts out like 250 watts at 4 ohms, but I'm no kidding, man. It looks like a module.
Right.
It's like half a rack size, half a 1U rack, tiny wee thing.
I've just not been in the gear game for a while. I do need to buy a bass amp soon.
A bass amp?
A bass amp.
Really?
Yeah.
How are you getting?
Well, I've got a hybrid guitar coming.
There is that.
It's
You'll need to
dual
do your
output.
AV. Right.
Yeah. So I've got to have a bass rig and a guitar rig.
You don't necessarily need a bass rig, but I would probably recommend getting yourself a 15-inch.
Yeah, the reason
Speaker at
that,
least.
honestly, the reason those hybrid guitars sound so damn good is
Split
because
signal.
it's that really making the bass strings sound like bass guitar strings. For a bass rig with maybe a bit of compression or whatever, and then having your guitar strings sound like guitar strings. Glorious. So.
There's a couple of comments I was wanting to go
Go
back
for
to.
it.
Can you mean scrolling up a wee bit?
Sure.
Somebody was asking, it might have been Yvonne, was asking about food. Pie barm. Is a pie barm like a rolling pie? As in like a chip butty, but instead of chips it's fries, for whoever else is fucking saying it, with a pie inside it, because a pie rab is so common up here. And rab stands for roll and butter. So you have a pie with a roll and butter, you have a pie and rab. Pie rab.
See, I've not heard that rab.
You heard pie rab?
but
No.
It totally makes sense.
Pie, roll and butter,
Sure.
pie rab.
Sure.
And it's usually said very colloquial.
Sure.
You will find that if you're an apprentice here, as in you're someone who works in some form of trade in an apprenticeship, you will probably be sent to somewhere to get breakfast for every day, and they will tell you that you need to go for skin rolls, and somehow you end up with an order of 4. 4 skin rolls. Can I have 4 skin rolls, please? Can you imagine that, asking for that in the shop? It's the same as I remember folk getting sent at my techie class, which was how do you describe techie? what was it? Graphic Communications. Graphic Communications.
Design.
Graphic design. We were
Yeah.
Graphic Communications up here. Graphic design, pretty much the same thing.
Sure.
I remember people being so useless they were told to go and ask for a long stand. And they would stand for a long time. Can you wimp the tartan paint?
Oh, yeah, of course.
You get a glass hammer?
Yeah.
All day things, you know what I mean?
It's spirit level bubbles.
Aye.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm just.
I think to go back to what we're talking about, see that small form factor, but still having tone, 100% is the popular thing. And I've not been ahead of the curve. I've been trying to get in times with it because I think the fly rigs came from. There's another company that actually does fly rig. Is the name of it?
Does sound like a brand.
That's what Sansamp does a fly rig. In
That's-
fact, because they do a no Bettencourt signature and a couple other different ones,
Oh,
and it's
God.
essentially loads of pedals in one strip. Lyle had one. Lyle had the. It might have actually been the Nuno Bettencourt one for quite some time, and he was quite enjoying it as far as I could tell. But I've been enjoying the idea of a fly rig, and I think it's super popular. And the small form factor with a decent amount of power seems to be the big thing. The Magnum's so unreliable. Like, being honest,
It's hard for me to consider, amps and things because I've got an amp over there with our faces on it that lights up when I
the
turn
Gen
it.
120 that just sits there, just looking at us longingly,
Yeah, I mean,
calling us as if by name.
I use it when I'm teaching.
You've never even plugged it in to the professional digital load box you have sitting right in front of us with the pedo live.
I've never plugged anything.
You've
into
never
it.
plugged in. You've never even plugged that in. I don't think I've ever seen that screen light up. Wait a wee minute. You need to move that camera and show everybody that it actually switches on.
Take that, bitch.
I love it sitting on like what's clearly the original first fucking default load.
What can I say? I have
I'm going to steal this off you at some point, and I'm definitely going to record Party Cannon.
anytime.
Or I'm just going to steal your studio.
Yeah, you were supposed to take my my Gen 120. So
Did I ask for it this time?
you said you were going to, and then you never got around to it.
Did I? I mean, I used the G3 pedal and it sounded fucking tits. And then we had the Pagera Tri-Rec, and I had the, funnily enough, the Duality running 4 cable method, and it was absolutely fucking chef's kiss.
Left-handed tools, left-handed screwdriver,
Aye, that's it. Well, you get left-handed scissors, to be fair.
bucket of sparks,
Bucket of sparks, that's right. Have you seen the apprentices trying to catch them and all that?
Sent-
Fucking arseholes.
getting sent for a reach around.
Take 21, sent for a reach around. And I'd fucking love to get sent for a reach around. I don't know about you. Yeah, Take 21, that's right. It wasn't Sansamp, Take 21.
Yeah.
Bang on. But they still do like multiple variants and versions of that. I know it's not got a power amp section itself, but that idea, small form factor, you've got everything in there, full control.
Yeah.
Set your presets, even if it's got like a cab sim out or whatever, and you're happy with the sound of that straight to front of house.
Yeah.
Like,
Stephen
you
asked,
cannot go wrong.
do I still use the Laney head, or do I still have the Laney head? No, I sold the Laney head. And Andre asks, would you guys go for a Kemper or an Axe FX or something like that? I have a Kemper. I have a Kemper powered rack unit here, which I use all the time. I do use my Kemper all the time.
You do.
Anytime I'm recording, it's usually always the Kemper. It's,
I don't know how many times I've come in here and be like, mate, check this tone out.
yeah,
Maybe not this studio, but the amount of times I've come in and you've had the Kemper set up and been like, by the way.
We played around with it quite a lot when I first got it going on
Aye.
what's that?
Profiler app or whatever it's called.
Whatever their app is, and you just looking up silly amps that we played when we were kids.
Marshall MG10, click.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds just as bad as
Yeah.
the B's ever did.
Takes me back to being a kid.
A BB blaster, 5 watt, 8-inch, cheapest that you can fucking get wooden speaker.
But to answer your question, Andre, the thing I learned better than, the best lesson I ever had was Martin Miller, from Martin Miller. When he released his first album, he recorded that entire thing with a Pod XT. The entire thing was recorded with a Pod XT. And the point is, he learned how to get the sound that he wanted out of the Pod XT. When Martin got his first ever Axe FX, I think it was the Axe FX 2, he tone matched his Pod XT tone.
Understandable.
Because that was his sound at that point. And, what I take from that is the Kemper, it's a bit outdated now. There's better, well, not necessarily better, that's the point I'm making. There's newer things on the market. Newer is more exciting, etc. But I think if you had a Kemper, you have everything that you need. You've just got to learn how to use it. Just like if you have an Axe FX, you've got everything you could possibly need. You've just got to learn how to use it.
Yeah.
If you don't even have that, if all you've got is guitar rig, you know, you've got everything you need.
You don't actually, though. Let's be honest. Guitar rig is not very good.
You just got to learn how to use it.
But you're right. I know I was totally dismissive there.
Sure.
But you're bang on. Like, when I think about...
It might be harder to use it, but
It's just as much the person as it is the stuff. Like, when I think about... I consider myself pretty good with technology. I think I've got a good ear.
Unless it's recording.
Unless it's recording, right? I think I've got a good ear. I think I like to understand that how to get certain tones and where frequencies sit and like how to get certain sounds and whatever else, right? Every time I record, I hate it. And then I hear Kieran's recordings. Someone that's never had any formal education, he's never done any touring, etc. Doesn't have the same experience as me, but Kieran's just got this attuned ear of going, I know where things should sit in this. But I think if you put Kieran in a formal studio setting, he wouldn't get it. But my point stands. It's not about what you've got, it's how you use it. And it's getting to know your equipment, getting to know your settings, getting to know how you process your sound, what to do to get certain, no effects, but certain elements to come out in the music. Like, I'm infinitely jealous, envious, not jealous, I wouldn't take it away from him, I would just like to have the same. Infinitely envious of Kieran's abilities at times.
It's a mixture of things, isn't it? He has a lot of ability, but he's honed his craft.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he has explored.
He's been recording music on Audacity if he was about fucking 10 years old.
Yeah, and he's gone out and worked out how to do. It's the same principle, isn't it? If you can work in Audacity, what you're doing there is you are working out how to do the thing that you want to do. You're just dealing with the software that you have. Did we talk about DAWs?
We did
on the last episode.
Yeah, because I think we're talking about like Studio One versus Reaper versus whatever else.
And I
Kieran
stand by what I
uses
said.
Fruity Loops.
Yeah.
Kieran uses what is essentially the same music or the same DAW that's used to write Black Eyed Peas music. And Black Eyed Peas stuff is not hard to write. Fall on a MIDI keyboard, add some shit vocals, and you're fucking in. And yet Kieran somehow makes it sound better than some of the fucking studio files I have for people that are running like Pro Tools and shit. It's crazy.
So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to move towards ending the show.
Let's do it.
Because we've nearly been going for 2 hours and I want to eat my dinner.
It's funny you say that, right? Like, I was just thinking, I'm pretty pissed. People have listened to us for 2 hours now. And it's almost like they want to continue the chat.
I know.
I love yous all. Like, I really do. But I also feel sorry for yous. Monday Night Guitar Geek Club is great fun. But you get to 11 o'clock. Surely yous are like, shut the fuck up, you two.
It's only 11 o'clock for us. You've got to remember a lot of these guys are in the States. So.
Fair, which would put them at what, like fucking 6 in the afternoon?
Yeah.
Oh man, you've got a full day of drink ahead of you.
Yeah.
Fucking Slanjivar.
What we really need to do is make the promise that all Guitar Souls episodes will be live because they're fun. Strange,
like
but fun.
Steve Austin, you can't go wrong with Reaper. You're right, Stephen. Yeah. Amen.
So as always, I want to say a big thank you to our friends and family over at Ormsby Guitars. Please do go and check them out. That's one right there. Trying to tickle it somehow. There we go.
Kind of right in the bridge.
It's my Goliath. Beautiful. Stunning. Looking forward to getting my hands on one of those Evertune bridge ones.
Oh man, Perry's been giving out little like, it's no spoilers, right? It's no spoilers. It's hints at what's going on, and the sheer amount of stuff that's going on at the moment is ridiculous. I tell you what, I can't really wait for. Genuinely, is the new website.
Yeah,
the new website. I cannot wait. Because I have no doubt whatsoever that it's going to look fucking ridiculous and it's going to do much better for people to go on and buy stuff.
Sure.
You know, I know they had the Reverb store on before and whatever else, and with the runs it must be quite complicated trying to keep that up. But the new website is, for what I understand, and based on the fact that they've got a new artist, or sorry, a new designer doing a new website, it's going to be fucking tits. I can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah.
And
I'm a little bit worried about those Evertunes, to be honest.
Why?
Well, there's a very real possibility that I can't get one right now.
No, there's a very real possibility you're going to buy 4 or 5 of them.
There is literally not. We're in April 26th. I filed my tax return on April 1st. I know how much tax I need to pay. I'm flat broke. I'm not up shit creek without
You're not flat broke.
I'm basically flat broke, mate.
I'll show you flat broke. I will show you my bank account right now and you will go, oh, okay then.
Sure, but if you just got a 5-figure bill in...
it was pretty sore.
And then,
Don't get me wrong, every time I open my bank account, 5 figures I owe back to RBS. Great.
Yeah.
Doesn't include my other debts, which we'll not go into. They're all managed. I'm not making out some sort of fucking pleading poverty, by the way. I'm just normal human debts, etc.
Yeah, but
just put that in context before it makes me sound like I'm like, please give, I'm poor.
On the note of please give, I'm poor, please do head to the link in the description to our Buy Me a Coffee page. That isn't a pay my debts fund. It's not pay Mike's debts fund.
Not at
It
all.
is absolutely a we want to go to NAM at some point. We want to go out and film more of these types of things. And
Even if we don't make it to NAM, we'll need to make good use of the money. I am totally on board for
we'll
us
just
doing-
fly as far as it will take us.
Well, not even fly, but genuinely go road trip. Who
Sure.
would you like us to go and chat shit with? Get an
Yeah.
hour or two's time.
Yeah.
Ask about fucking guitar stuff. Talk shit about the music industry. Whatever else. I mean, John Brown's already said we should definitely go down and see him.
Yeah.
Me, you, him, and Kieran would be a fucking belter of an episode.
Yeah.
Especially if we start drinking whiskey. Think about it. Come on, it's all profit for you.
I mean, mate, you could take John Brown out of that equation. You could take Kieran out of that equation. You could take you out of that equation. You had me at drink whiskey.
We're good then. We're good. But that's the idea of what I'm talking about. Obviously, there's chat just now saying live episodes, more live episodes would be great fun. I'm down to do it. The only concern I've got is, or the consideration I've got, sorry, is with the new job.
Sure.
But generally speaking, if I'm going to be working, I'll be working for 48 hours. So it's not like I can come by and have a beer and then be like, well, be careful
Sure.
at the bar and I go to work. I'll be there.
Yeah.
So, chappers.
We'll have to work
Come on,
out-
Johnny, behave.
We'll
There's not enough money in the world,
Mate,
son.
I would absolutely, because the thing with me, and you know this better than anyone, and everybody watching this knows, I just don't give a fuck.
Totally. And I would pay out my own pocket to bring KDL over. Kaelin, you need to come with us to...
KDH.
So that- KDH, sorry, not KDL, KDH. Kaelin, you need to come with us so we can just stand in front of him and be like, so,
I would have no problem knocking on his door and being like, right, bud, how's it going? Let's talk. This will be great. Let's do an episode. I'll sit down and go, and, hi, everybody. Levi Clay here with the Guitar Souls. Sat here with this cunt, Rob Chapman. How's it going, Rob? And I just take no issue with it.
you will,
because
Dick?
there's something glorious about that look when someone's really uncomfortable, when they don't quite know how to deal with the situation. Nothing, I'm learning this as the weeks go by, nothing seems to make me uncomfortable. My new thing is
That's not true.
beans.
I've made you uncomfortable a few times, but maybe that's because I'm kind of in the inner circle.
Yeah, potentially.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I've started doing, the
Sorry,
classic,
beans.
the John Cleese, the goose step, the thing that he does in the
Don't mention the war.
Don't mention the war episode.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So with Melissa, like randomly when we're out shopping now, I start doing that through Asda while shouting beans as loud as I can, just to make her want to die inside.
I would love to witness that.
And it's
Like, not as part of your group, but as a fly in the wall.
that's the point. I just don't care. I just don't care in the slightest anymore. I'm just wandering around shouting beans, and like this kid came up to me and was like, heard me shouting beans and held up some M&Ms, and I was like, no, those are M&Ms. I want beans, beans, beans. We eventually get to the beans aisle. I'm like, beans, beans.
One of my whole bands was called Lost Persona, and we did not have a song, but we certainly used to make a racket. See when like practice was getting boring, you know that way you get really stale of playing your own songs, and you're just like, there's no creative juices here, there's no fun, there's no flow, there's no just stupid spontaneous shit. We would all randomly just play like big open notes and drop whammy bars, and I would detune my bass because I played bass in this band, and the drummer would play these super slow, like horrible breakdown beats, and we would all just shout moonbeams all the time. Colin, if you're watching, buddy, I fucking love you, son. Love you.
Probably not.
Same with you, Tony. Same with you, Big Andy.
Well, I've just seen.
Same with you, Sean Cairns.
Connor is watching.
Mr. Duvin.
We are now currently legally allowed to go shopping. I'm looking forward to going shopping. Shops have opened. I'm going out shopping on Wednesday.
Bit
Connor,
wine.
can you look into? I need wine glasses for the bar. Connor, can you look into when you're allowed to come and visit Scotland?
Yes.
Because we'd love to have you over.
That would be a fantastic episode to get Connor on here.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
The most handsome, fun, kind-hearted, selfless bastard I've ever met. I don't call you a bastard in a bad way, in a really nice way.
I was going to stock my house out of more owls specifically for Connor.
But owls.
Yeah, he can come on the podcast and tell the owl story. Please do go and check out Dead World Audio. Those guys absolutely rock.
Dan and Kate, we love you.
DAE, check out the Duality DX. Those guys are absolutely awesome. Please do subscribe, like, comment, share. Check us out on Buy Me a Coffee. Check out Omrsby. Check out Dead World Audio. Everybody send Connor a message and tell him to hurry on up over because we miss him over here. And Mike, until next time.
Bye, fuckers.
End of that,